Jones,
Here.
Euler, not present.
Need a motion to approve of city council minutes.
Move to approve minutes. For both meetings.
Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes. Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. We do have one amendment. Jill Purvis is asked not to be reappointed to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay. I make a motion to approve as amended.
Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month. Representatives, Park. Gentlemen, how are you? I'm well, thank you. Good to see you. Okay, I'm gonna use my best radio announcer voice. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Warrensburg, Missouri, and whereas Parks and Recreation promote health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near the parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out of school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of crime reduction, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas the National Parks and Recreation Association theme this year is Where You Belong. And the city of Warrensburg recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. And welcomes all walks of life to be a part of our programs, park amenities, and open spaces. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Eddie Osborne, Chairperson Pro Tem of Warrensburg, Missouri, along with the Warrensburg City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month. And it's the city of Warrensburg. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal on this 8th day of July, 2024.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you, gentlemen. And next, we have presentation for funding request presentations by community partners and various boards and commission. And we're going to start with the Arts Commission and Allison Robbins.
Yeah, presentation, Gary.
Yeah.
There it is. Great, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm Allison Robbins, the Chair of the Arts Commission. And in presenting our budget request for fiscal year 25, I'd like to just give a brief overview of the Arts Commission and what we do in our plans for this upcoming year. So first of all, our mission and vision. We are here to help build a community in which artistic diversity and excellence is celebrated and supported and available to all. Our mission is to provide the city government in supporting the arts and cultural affairs, to enhance public awareness of the arts, and also to facilitate economic sustainability for the arts and sciences. Current commissioners, there are 6 of us of a total of 7 commissioner positions. Each commission, I'm sure as you know, commissioner, as you know, serves a 5-year term. Currently, besides myself, Cindy Bechtel, Sue Kraus, Sarah Chamberlain, Steve Carter, and Maya Kusich are all commissioners. We do have one vacancy on the commission, which is representation from our school district. Eddie Osborne is the council rep, and Marcy Barnhart does amazing work communicating our needs and the city's needs between the two of us, the commission and the city. Just to give you a sense, really the Arts Commission did a reboot in 2020, not only because of the pandemic, but also because we had a number of commissioners go out and new commissioners come in. So over the past 4 years, we've done a lot of administrative work in attempting to kind of reboot the commission and make sure that we're doing what our vision and mission statement is. One thing that the public art part of the Arts Commission is we do approve art proposals that come from our community partners for those projects that are on city property. So in the last 4 years, we've approved 4 different art proposals from Warrensburg Main Street, who has done a great job installing art in our downtown area. The Arts Commission is also in charge of Downtown Vibrations, which is concrete art that was installed downtown. It's currently in front of Green Truck Bakery. And we are in charge of making sure that that public art is restained and resealed about every 5 years so that it stays vibrant in our downtown area. We also at the Arts Commission approve grants to local organizations and artists who apply for them. In the past 4 years, we've issued $3,750 in arts grants. Those have gone from everything to the Mid-Missouri Artist Fall Show in 2021 to supporting the Warrensburg Community Band season this summer. We've also supported various musical performances in town and also a seminar for the Old Drum Woodcarvers. In terms of events, we do table at the third Wednesday Art Walks, and we actually ran the first Friday Art Walks for a couple of years. We've participated in Dickens Christmas, Old Drum Days, and also have helped community theater get rebooted after the pandemic with a performance last fall entitled Burnett and Friends in 2023. We're also, in terms of promoting art, we have a Facebook page. I'd welcome everybody in the room to follow us. We promote local art and also statewide initiatives in Missouri that people in Warrensburg can take part in. We partnered with the Visitor Center on a number of promotional materials, including a public art trifold that tells people who visit our community where our public art is. And just this past spring, we collaborated on an activity book for elementary school children in Warrensburg and also children who visit Warrensburg with their parents so they can learn about Warrensburg, color, and do activities while they're in the hotels. We also do commissioner education. Last year, we went to a Missouri Association of Community Arts Agencies in Lexington, Missouri. Sue Krause and I went, and this past spring, Steve Carter and I attended a Missouri Arts Council event called Creative Missouri in Mexico. That's Mexico, Missouri. To get to the kind of budget requests that we have, I just want to show you a few things about our finances so you know where we're coming from. We do have a cash reserve that's associated with the Warrensburg Arts Commission. If you notice in 2020, before our reboot, we were sitting at about $20,000 in that cash reserve. But as we have become more active and done more things in the community, you can tell that reserve has started to go down. The bump that you see up from April 2023 to where we are this year is because of that Burnett and Friends fundraiser that we did with community. In terms of bringing in revenue, my sense is the Arts Commission has not frequently brought in revenue over its existence. But since 2020, we have worked actively to try to find ways to replenish our cash reserve, especially as we know that arts grants are going out to people in the community to generate art. So as you see here, we started out small. We earned $100 at the Paint With Your Dog Day at Old Drum Day in 2021. We had a silent auction that brought in about $300, and then Burnett and Friends was really successful last fall. For fiscal year 25, we're budgeting 3 things in terms of revenue. One is $2,000 related to a community fundraiser, $1,000 of donations, and then even though this is not indicated on the slide, we're also hoping to work for a grant that we apply for and bring in money, which hopefully would be about another $2,000. So that will be $5,000 total in revenue generated for fiscal year 25. In terms of what we're planning to do for this upcoming fiscal year, we are following our strategic plan objectives. We wrote a strategic plan in 2023, and that has more details in it. I'm sure if you want to look at it, we're happy to provide that with you again. But basically, our goals for the rest of this fiscal year and then next fiscal year are broken into our commission and then our 2 committees that we have that are active. So within the Arts Commission, again, we're planning on fundraiser. We're also initiating a kindness project that will launch in November. November 13th is World Kindness Day. So we're having children at elementary schools generate or create art on coffee sleeves that will then be given to local coffee shops to be distributed with people's coffee on November 13th to inspire kindness in our community. The commission is also continuing to participate in perk walks and promoting events in the city. The grant committee is researching possible grant opportunities that we could apply for local art projects. And our Arts and Public Places Committee is quite active. They're working on 4 different projects currently. One is looking to get a sculpture on loan for Compton Park, which is across from the police station. There's an empty concrete slab that is waiting for art. So we're working with a nonprofit in Missouri that does sculpture on loan to see if we could get a sculpture on loan for 2 years from them. We're working with Parks and Recreation on a Poetry in the Parks project. We're going to issue a call for poets to submit poetry within a month, and then we will create signs from the selected poetry and install them in select parks. We're working with the UCM Art Lease Program to think about refreshing art in City Hall. And our big project right now is figuring out what to do with the historic mulberry tree. And we're working with local artists, getting their ideas, looking at costs for putting the wood through some kiln. And we'll be seeking public input on that project shortly in the next month. So in terms of our fiscal year budget request, we have $2,000 budgeted for arts and public places, $500 for program supplies related to our various projects, $500 for professional development in case there's another conference that commissioners could go to in terms of education for us. $100 for memberships for example, the group that does culture on loan, they require a membership with their program. We're hoping to give away $3,500 in community arts grants this year, reserving $500 for marketing for a total budgeted expenses of $7,100. With our projected budget revenue, $8,000, that means that $2,100 will come out of our budgets. So that's our budget request for this fiscal year. And thank you so much for allowing me to present this to you all. Appreciate it.
Do you have any questions for Allison?
No questions, I'm just very impressed. And I feel like your work could be a great model for some of our other boards and commissions and task forces in the city. And hopefully you might be available to do some mentoring for some other groups. So just really want to congratulate you for doing work that really involves the community, that it's not sort of lofty art that's not accessible. The one of the first things you mentioned was that you want, this community artwork to be available and accessible to everybody in the community. So I just appreciate all the work that you've put into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is the Historic Preservation Commission by Francis Ellis.
Hi, I'm Kristen Dunn, I'm the city planner. I'm on staff liaison for the Preservation Commission. I'm Francis Ellis, our chairman, and Mike Wright, who's one of our board members. So the Historic Preservation Commission, we were actually relatively busy this past year. So the handout I'm giving you is our FY24 accomplishments and highlights. The biggest two that we could boast of is the designation for the World War II heritage for Johnson. And on your sheet, you actually just have kind of the highlights of everything is below it. The other things that we accomplished, we have finished out our Historic Preservation Fund grant to create Warrensburg's first historic preservation plan. Many of you that are in the room, I know that you came to the public meetings and the stakeholder sessions, so I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. It was a 60-40 match. We did ask for $30,000 and we were refunded after our accomplishment, $18,888. So that's a great chunk of change. It was adopted by city council at the end of January, and we are already starting, in our meetings, working out our implementation and what we would like to start knocking out first. Other things that we have done, we do it every year, is our National Preservation Month in May. We do a couple of things such as the proclamation, which was read at our chamber coffee to honor National Preservation Month, and also the World War II Heritage Designation. We also do the notable structures and preservation opportunities, which is the card I handed out to you. We had actually transferred this to a story map in the last couple years, so it's more interactive, more pictures. You will be able to drive by the sites. It is a conglomerate of things that were highlighted from our historic preservation plan. That's how those were selected for this past year. And then we also do the library table with Trails Regional Library. We put out some of the boards from our public hearings, as well as the preservation plan itself, the notable structure cards, and any other, and also highlighting some history books of Warrensburg and Johnson County that you can find inside the library. Check out. We are still working on our mid-century modern survey. We actually started this last year. We put it on hold when our preservation plan started. It is documenting all the commercial, multifamily, and industrial resources of Warrensburg that date between 1945 and 1980. We did have 2 volunteers that photographed many of the structures, Don Nimmer and Cheryl Landers. That, even though it is still in progress, it is actually on the Historic Preservation Commission webpage, so you can actually see the progress of it. It's going to have basic information about the building. If there's a known architect, its style, is there a blueprint, the photograph of it, what it currently looks like today. And then we'll use that information for potentially a grant to either do a local property documentation, which would help properties get listed on the National Register to take advantage of the tax incentives that come with that. Last but not least, Mayor Euler brought me in contact with Vance Delozier, who has many of Kenneth Marr's blueprints. Kenneth Marr was a developer during the mid-century. One of the big ticket items is the Broadview addition, which was listed in our preservation plan that's worthy of architectural survey. And all those plans were in that office, and he has donated them to us, as well as many other mid-century blueprints that will help with our surveys. As far as our budget is concerned, it is relatively minor compared to last year because the grant, we don't have the grant this year. We do have allotted for 1 commissioner or to attend a full preservation conference, or sometimes we divide it up into 2 commissioners for a 1-day conference like we did last year. Preservation month supplies that pays for the notable structure booklet card. And we also have asked to replace the signs of the downtown historic district. There are 3. One's over on Pine Street next to Washington. One's next to the railroad and the flower bed. And one is mounted on the pole where you have the farmer's market banner. It's there. 2 of them are peeling and they're not in great shape. We're asking to replace all 3 of them, but also put an under bracket. And it's like a scroll design that allows for a QR code. So Main Street can add a QR code to their walking tour. So that would be able to help them. Other things include our memberships. So the National Alliance for Preservation Commissions is what they do their webinar training. I'm going to provide the quarterly magazine and free webinars with the membership. And then the rest is miscellaneous public meeting supplies in the event that we did have a local landmark application. You have any questions for us?
Any questions?
Again, just a comment that I'm glad that you've got some professional development in there. As a volunteer in a few different places, it's really important to be able to have that access to professional development as a volunteer and to really connect with other commissions in different areas and learn/steal ideas from them. So thank
And
you
it's
for
wonderful
including
because it's a webinar, so you can watch it at the
that. Mhm.
leisure of their home, and then our commissioners are all required to have these trainings.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say a lot's been accomplished this past year.
Yeah,
Thank you.
a lot to be proud of.
Work hard.
We applaud your good work.
Up next is the Energy and Sustainability Task Force for Tree City, presented by
Yes.
Councilperson Latari.
Yes, so Mayor Euler is not able to be here tonight, so on his behalf, the Energy and Sustainability Task Force is asking for $500. On the agenda, it does say Tree City USA, but from what I understand from Councilman Mayor Euler's email, it's related to training and conference attendance. I believe specifically the Missouri Community Forestry Council has a conference every year. It's actually August 21st through 23rd in Columbia. And so as the tree board has been sort of subsumed by the Energy and Sustainability Task Force, I think there's a desire for some of those commissioners and task force members to kind of get ramped up a little bit on tree things. So it's $500 for that specifically for training and conference attendance, which I think they will probably do something similar to the Historic Preservation Commission, that one or two might go on 1 or 2 days to try and make sure that multiple people get to attend.
Any questions? Thank you, Susie.
Thanks.
Up next is the Old Drum Transportation, presented by Dawn Ashers.
Good evening, council members. How are you guys?
Oh, no, thanks.
So I'm here on behalf of Oats Transportation for the Old Drum City Bus Service that we run in Warrensburg, Missouri. This is our Old Drum driver, Tanya. Last year you had some questions about who we're actually servicing on the Old Drum route. And since it is a fixed route system, meaning it starts at one place and makes a loop every hour. Okay, makes a loop every hour. We don't necessarily know who's riding on that route or not. I'll go over some of the past performances that we've done over the last year. Over the 12-month period, we have done 393 one-way trips within the city of Warrensburg for about 23,000 service miles and 1,800 hours of service for a total cost of $98,118. We provide door-to-door service and also a fixed route service, which would be our Old Drum. The Old Drum tickets for our city members are $1.50. The door-to-door is $2.50. If you were in needing of a mobility device, you would need to use the door-to-door service, so it's $2.50 each way if it's not on one of our special contracts. We do Monday through Friday, 8:10 to 4 o'clock. And she hits every major store that we have in Warrensburg and most of the lower income divisions we have in Warrensburg. And a couple of the senior housing divisions that we have in Warrensburg. And without this transportation, her and I were just talking, we've talked a lot about it. Not only this transportation, but a lot of the transportation that we provide, a lot of our citizens would be isolated in their homes. And they would not get out. They call in if she's not driving the bus because that's their person now that they get to see once a week when they may not see anybody else for that week, or they may not have a ride to Walmart or to Aldi's, Dollar General to get the things that they need to sustain their livelihoods. So the proposal that we have is right now, we're asking for $18,000 a year. Last year it was 15,000. If we get 18,000, we will keep the price the same for our citizens. We will stay Monday through Friday. There'll be no change or disruptions to services. If we receive the 15,000 we received last year, the price will still stay the same. The services will still stay the same, with the exception that we will cut off Friday. With costing us almost $100,000 a year, and we all know times are tight, gas prices are high, we have to make some tough decisions that we're not necessarily excited to make. we want everybody to get where they need to go. That's kind of my job. I kind of like my job, so. She's here to speak to the citizens that we do have riding the bus. Last year, there were some questions about whether college students were using and whether the military was using. And so I brought her to speak to that because I'm in the office and not on the bus.
Hi. Yes, I do have college students. I started getting the word out I took over this route last September. And, picked up a few from the Amtrak station right here and the word started spreading. So I'm starting to get the college students. I also pick up military that come in on the Amtrak. They may need to go to the VA hospital, right out here, and I pick them up as well as our elderly that need to get to all their stores,
You wanna tell
medical
me your
appointments.
stops? What do you say?
Oh, Lord, I don't have my tablet. in front of me.
Amtrak.
I started at Amtrak. I go to Warrensburg Estates. Student Union Hall. Parkview. No, not Parkview. Murphy Lakes.
That's okay. You don't need
Put
to
you on the
list,
spot.
you don't need to list the whole route. It's okay.
So, yeah, and
The
then-
It's all in detail.
hospital, all.
So we do provide a lot of our citizens ride to the hospital as well, so that is a stop on our route, and that is a very frequent stop on our route, along with the Walmart and then the Aldi's and
Yes, and
all of those things, so.
all of the housing additions in Warrensburg as well, so.
Do you keep track of, the number of individual riders that you're serving?
She has a tablet that she uses, and they have to have a bus pass, because we no longer do cash on the bus, because it was just getting way too complicated. So she will put in the number of people that she picks up and drops.
But you don't keep track of them by name,
No,
so you don't.
not on that schedule, on our deviated route, the demand response door to door. Yes, we have all those names and those addresses and emergency contacts and
Okay.
nature of their disability and all that stuff, so we know how to accommodate them. But the individuals that get on and off the bus, that's just like a city bus system, like you would have in Kansas City. You would just get on the bus and get off the bus where you need to get on and off. But if you needed more specialized care, they just call in to us 2 o'clock the day before and set up the ride, and we pick them up at their home and lower the lift for them, load their groceries, take the groceries to their door, because we are a door-to-door service. And people, if you're in a wheelchair and you've got 20 bags of grocery, you can't necessarily unload those groceries yourself. So our drivers do take the groceries, put them in the vehicle, and then take them to the door of their home. We're not allowed to go inside, but we do set them as close as we can for them so they can get their groceries.
And you have how many vehicles in town? Do you have like a car for the people that are
We probably have 12 to 13 drivers that are stationed in Johnson County.
but buses that are in
No, they
the,
all have buses, so the buses are here with them.
and they're all providing services
Yes.
in the city limits?
In the city and out of the city, so we have several contracts, for Medicaid, they may have an appointment in Lee Summit. So we'll take them to Lee Summit. Oates has 87 counties in the state of Missouri, so we travel all around, they may have to go to KU Medical, so. And Tanya lives in Holden, and her mom's also a driver for us, so she may pick them up in Holden and take them to KU Medical. And then we also have a route that's called a senior route that we run in conjunction with the senior center. That is free to any citizen over 60 or with a disability, as long as they ride between 9 to 1. So we have several programs that they could be eligible for. This one is just, I live here and I wanna go to Walmart, so I go to the Amtrak station and wait for Tanya, pay my $1.50, go to Walmart. She'll come back around about an hour later, either I'm ready or I'm not, she'll come back about an hour later, and then she'll finish her route, and drop me back in the Amtrak station.
I see.
And so this contract is just for that service, not
Yeah,
for
we're-
any of the travel to
No,
Kansas City
that-
or.
Those are all under different contracts, we get federal funding for those, we have contracts with Medicaid.
And also the door-to-door request is not part of this service,
It's just an additional service that we do provide.
but that's a separate payment stream for you.
And how do you keep track of what programs funding what ride?
When they call in, we find out where they fit in whatever program If it's Medicaid, it comes over through Medicaid. There's no question of where that is. If it's someone who's over the age of 60 and they can schedule their ride between 9 and 1, then we'll encourage them, we'll put them on the senior center route. Because that ride will be free. They ask for a contribution of 50 cents
Right.
through that route. So we'll schedule them to do that. If it's someone and they need to go to work, then it'll be $2.50 each way, and that's an employment code that we use. So we probably have 90 to 100 different codes that our people, our reservations have to know. And a lot of the people that we've serviced for a very long time. We have a lot of repeat offenders, so to speak. So if you call in and your name pops up, I can see what code you normally use and what you have done in the past. And also what may have changed for you. They ask those questions. Has your mobility changed? Are you now in a wheelchair? Is it difficult for you to use the Ultron bus? And now do you need to go to the door-to-door service, which is $1 more,
Mhm.
but that's funded through other things.
So they call an 800 number?
They call our local number, which is 660-827-2611, or the 800 number that's on buses.
Oh, okay.
Or they can go to our website, oakstransit.org, and we have all of our bus schedules and our numbers and our prices on there for all the counties that we service. We have a different service for people that may live in Leeton that wanna come in, and that's $5 each way because they're out of county and most of our drivers are centered in Warrensburg. We also have an app that they can put on their phone and they can track and see where the city bus is.
Oh, what's that app called?
Oh, it's on oakstransit.org. We have 2 people that set up in my office and I am not one.
That's something the riders can use?
Yes, they can use that, and they can use that also for their medical rides, because we do medical, recreational, shopping, nutritional, employment, education, if they need to go to a lawyer, if they need to go to social services, if they need to have visitation with their children, they're getting their kids back. Whatever they need to do, we try to accomplish
Okay.
as best we can.
And how long have the fares been at this rate? The 150 and the 250 that are covered under this contract?
I would say probably 10 years at least.
And at what level is the decision made about what those fares are and when they are increased?
It's a
Like,
budget thing. It's a conversation that we have with the budget. The fares are more of a buy-in to the system, right? Because you're talking about individuals who make $827 a month. So buying a fare card for $50 or $25, you get how many rides? I keep putting you on the spot, I'm sorry. 10 rides for $30, okay? So if they buy it when they get their monthly check, is it similar? If they buy it when they get their monthly check, then they have that for the month. If we start increasing their rides, I fear ridership will go down.
of course.
If we start eating into their
Sure.
medication
Yep.
money and all those
Sure.
things, ridership will go down. And our goal at Oaks, we're a nonprofit, is to make sure that we get transportation to all of our rural clients in the state of Missouri. Like, that's what we do, so.
Casey, I'm
I'm Dawn.
doing, Dawn, sorry. I'm doing quick math here, and you said 10 rides for $30, so that's $3 a ride. No,
$1.50 each way.
okay.
So it's not a
Sorry,
discount, it's just,
I think, yeah, it's round trip, yeah. I think it's, yeah, 25.
And
We run specials.
what is of the 5 days a week, what is the busiest day of the week as far as your ridership?
My busiest days are Mondays and Thursdays, my personal days, because I work Monday through Thursday.
and
I'm
that,
always busy on Mondays because everybody's been stuck in the house all weekend. Cause I work today, woo. And then Thursdays, everybody's getting ready for the weekend. So
that was gonna be my question about why Friday was chosen. Is that just because it's the lowest ridership?
Friday was chosen because we're getting to a point where we're having to make some service cuts. We don't want to, but it just the fact of life. And Fridays, we have a very high number of medical rides. And we started off as a medical transportation company, so we want you to get your groceries, but you really gotta go to dialysis. Right, you may be able to wait till Monday for your groceries, you can't wait till Monday for your dialysis, so,
Right, so there are other options for them on Friday other than
Yes.
this.
yes.
Gotcha.
And, you know, if we let them know, and we're very communicative with our riders, they're very invested, they're on our Facebook page all the time. They're giving feedback, they're calling me all day long. Well, Tanya was 2 minutes late getting to the Walmart, like, it's fine, it was traffic, I don't know, right? So I speak to them all day long, but we're very communicative with them and we let them know what we're gonna make. We don't just decide, oh, no, you can't go on Fridays anymore. We will tell them 3-4 months ahead of time, and our reservations will tell them when they call in, hey, I know you normally go on Friday because we can see their list.
Mhm.
If we change the old drum, she'll start telling her riders, as, you know, as soon as we come to that decision, we're not gonna be running on Fridays anymore. You can still get a ride, it'll be $250 instead of the $150.
Mhm.
But we won't be running, so we'll make sure that everybody's well aware of whatever cuts we've had to make. We started telling our riders in March that we were no longer gonna be accepting cash on the bus July 1st.
Gotcha.
So we give them plenty of notice.
Great, thank you.
Well,
Oh, I've noticed that the one bus, I don't know how many, but one doesn't have any labeling on it at all. Is it a new bus that's waiting to get lettering
not a
out?
coach bus if it doesn't have any labeling on it.
There's some of them that are from the Cost County Board of Services
Yeah,
that don't have any
The
decals on
license
yet.
plate. Yeah,
Buses all have.
Okay, I thought so.
So we have buses, we have minivans, and we have cars.
gotcha.
Okay,
And transits, which are vans. So some of our vans can handle, some of our buses can handle 2 wheelchairs, some can only handle 1. Some minivans can handle wheelchairs, some minivans can't, obviously the sedans can't. So it just depends on the person and where they're going and how it works in our room. We, at our office in Midwest, we do about 700 trips a day, so.
Okay.
And just so I'm perfectly clear, so if we ended up staying at the same level and not raising it, meaning we would lose Friday, riders would still be able to do not only their medical, but also any other errands. It would cost them for those
Probably
other
won't do
errands.
shopping on Friday,
Yeah, it would, so I'm sorry, say
no
that.
shopping on Friday.
No shopping on Friday.
We do no shopping on Friday, but we would give them plenty of notice, and there are some people that go shopping every day.
Yeah.
That they may not get to go.
But they could also choose to get door to door on Friday for an extra $1 each way.
Not in Warrensburg.
Not in Warrensburg, okay.
Warrensburg has, any town, like Warrensburg, Sedalia, Warsaw, that has, what do we have, 9 nursing homes? We have a lot of wheelchair clients, and they have a
Mhm.
lot of medical.
Sure, yeah,
So, like I said, medical,
is the top,
Trump said it.
sure, absolutely, sure.
so we have not been doing door-to-door service shopping in Warrensburg for a while. We've just been operating the old drum bus for
Okay,
shopping in Warrensburg.
okay. So on Friday, people could get medical appointment transportation, but no other
They could
transportation.
get employment if they had a job, if there was a job, so employment and medical.
Okay,
but if they were a senior, they could get senior services,
There's still no shopping for senior routes on Friday,
even through the senior funding.
even through the senior funding. You have a lot of people that are on Medicare that use a senior route for their doctor's appointments, because Medicare does not offer transportation like Medicaid does.
I see.
So you have a lot of people who maybe have worked for the post office and now they just can't drive because of vision or whatever their disability is, and they'll use a senior route for their medical appointments on Friday because it's only a 50-cent donation. I mean, we've had to make some hard decisions in the last year or so.
and I'm sorry, what did you say, medical, and what was the other thing on Fridays?
And employment.
Employment, thank you, of course, thank you,
Employment. We'll get you to work, we'll get you to your
Right.
documents.
thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
I know that was a lot, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. You guys have a
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you both for being here.
Up next is the Warrensburg Main Street presented by Jamie DeBacker.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Jamie DeBacker. I'm the executive director. And I know many of you here. I do have my support staff, Maggie, and many of our board of directors here in support today, just to say thank you for your continued support over all this time. So I did present a packet. I hope you guys had some time to look over it. So lots of information and statistics. But I do have a short summary to go over that. So Thank you for allowing me this time for your continued support towards our organization. Some of you may be new to the history of our organization, so I'd like just to take a moment to tell you a little bit about Warrensburg Main Street. Warrensburg Main Street is a national and state accredited program, and we are one of 9 programs in the state of Missouri and nationwide that is accredited. We have been proudly operating since 1994. This is something the city of Warrensburg should be proud to celebrate, as you've helped us support this organization to become who we are today. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary as an organization, which I have been a privilege to be a part of for the last 5 years as of today. While I'm new to being the executive director of Warrensburg Main Street, I'm not new to the impact that it brings to our community. I was a volunteer in college, I'm a daughter of a small business owner, and I've made many friends and supporters throughout my lifetime here in Warrensburg. Warrensburg Main Street is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, meaning that we give our support, resources, and knowledge to all building and business owners in the downtown area, regardless of their monetary support. We strive to build a sense of community pride by fostering a clean and inviting downtown where businesses can thrive, individuals can shop and dine, and customers can find friendly faces in the businesses. Our organization provides small business support along with a variety of free community events to the public to enjoy. We make it a mission every day to be a community builder and a partner in creating a place where we all can be proud of. Being community-minded, we hope to create event days in 2023 for downtown Warrensburg, bringing together the community, visitors, and supporters, not only to ring registers, but create memories and traditions. Downtown Warrensburg is a very special place with 117 businesses and over 475 people employed in those businesses. We are seeing continued growth and improvements in downtown Warrensburg. As in 2023, we saw $1.7 million privately invested into the buildings and businesses. These improvements not only provided some space for the new businesses to come, but restored the history of the buildings built on memories and stories. Our vacancy rate is currently at 13%, which includes 4 buildings in progress. And this number continues to decrease with each report we have every year. Burkfest Street Fair saw a significant increase in attendance, hitting our record numbers due to the partnership we have with the city of Warrensburg and Johnson County. Your open communication and help with logistics allowed for a carnival to attend, bringing almost 30,000 people to our historic downtown. This brought overnight visitors, daytime spenders, and into our community who supported the many restaurants, shops, and entertainment that we have to offer. It helped bring more exposure to our community and have a fun new addition to this beloved event. The Warrensburg Farmers Market has also continued to make strides throughout the year. We have anywhere from 700 to 1,000 customers each Saturday supporting our local vendors and doing sidewalks. Its draw has brought many new vendors and opened more small business opportunities for their own personal growth. The great work from our committees and board shows proof of the economic growth as the retail, the eats and drinks and entertainment categories continue to rise. We actively have conversations with entrepreneurs and big dreamers of what's to come with the future of downtown Warrensburg. Warrensburg Main Street and the city of Warrensburg have had a long-lasting relationship and through many city councils, managers, police chiefs, and staff. Today, I'm standing before you to ask for your continued support for our organization. A part of our accreditation is having city and county support, and we're so grateful for your continued effort to see the power of Main Street for the city of Warrensburg. We currently have a generous contract of services, which is provided on the last part of your packets. Today, we are asking for a small increase and hope that we will get back to our funding, which was cut in 2021 due to city demands and budgeting needs. Warrensburg Main Street is not just all fun events and marketing events or efforts. We are economic empowerers, we're preservationists, we're business developers. We see the importance of supporting small businesses in our community, and through our efforts, we have actually seen it grow. Today, we are proud to have over 50 community voices on our committees. We have a great diversity in board, which represents our demographics, and we have open communication with anyone who has an idea for growth. We are building owners not only diversify our budget, but have a hand in building our downtown inventory. We are local supporters, cheerleaders, and helpers from business owners to farmers market vendors to artists in our community. Here is proof of one of our newest businesses, Magdalene Mercantile, who joined downtown Warrensburg, who sees the Main Street's potential and impact. They say that Warrensburg's Main Street's tireless advocacy for the health of our downtown through the farmers market, Burkfest, wine stroll, and beer crawl, beautification projects, and more is a powerful tool for our burg. We at Magdalene Mercantile chose to open our business in downtown Warrensburg because we felt it was like the most vital downtown in the area, and in no small part due to those programs. We hope Main Street can continue to improve those programs as well as create new innovative programs to drive even more visitors to our downtown, which is great for everyone. We are excited for the growth of the downtown area and would like to have more diversity through their efforts. Thank you again for your continued support. This is just the beginning of a great forward motion for downtown Warrensburg and the Warrensburg Main Street. We hope that you will consider our increase of $4,750 to our current agreement, as it's just a small increase of under $400 a month for the city of Warrensburg. Our efforts to grow impactful community events and diverse our downtown is proof that we will continue to help make this community the best it can be. The small increase could also help us bring another Main Street staff member to our team to continue the efforts of community builders and cheerleaders. And thank you so much for your time.
Anyone have any questions?
I did have a question, when I was going through the packet on the 4 locations that are in progress, and there was a description in there that said that the first floor of, this building,
Will be a white space.
yeah, what's white
So
space?
basically, that's when a builder or building owner will make a space that's not just designed for it to be a restaurant or a retail space. They basically will build it to be what, that can be created into whatever they want it to be. So we call that the white box space, where it's not like you walk into a old restaurant, they renovate it to be another old restaurant. They've completely gutted it out, so it's just a big open space, they can develop it to whatever business they see potential in there. So when they sell the building, that building owner will then go to the city and start to work with them on what would be best for like occupancy, things like that.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
thank you. Had no idea.
Any other questions?
I just had a question, if you know of anything you can say about the space where Blackadder used to be,
Mhm.
Cafe Blackadder or Blackadder 2, any news by
It's
chance?
currently still vacant. The building owners is still in the thoughts of selling the building, but, has not reached out to us in particular to let us know that they're looking to sell it. So we have had people ask us almost every month about that building and what the future of it is. So we constantly will be like, hey, we have someone interested. So it's still on our radar. We just are waiting for them to make the move. And we do encourage them by saying, you know, we have people out here waiting for it. One
And-
book.
I have wondered because it's just been empty for so long. So,
June
Yeah.
of 2022.
The, former Corner Cafe,
Corner
Mhm.
Cafe.
yeah.
Mhm.
Now, I heard that's being developed into
I
something.
think that's one of the 4.
Yeah, this one
Where?
was the last one.
There.
Yeah, that
Oh,
one is,
that's
sorry.
it?
it has, so what we call a building currently in progress means within the last year, they've seen some kind of improvements or renovation done. So that one is under a new building owner, and they do have potential efforts to make it into some type of cafe or dining experience still. I just don't want to put too much out in the open without their approval, so.
Because it was very popular for
Yeah.
people that work downtown. You could get quite fat eating there in a day. It's good food.
Yes,
Home
and it's a
cooked food.
staple, I mean, it's a staple corner for our downtown, so we're happy to see some type of movement in there and see some type of progress.
Any other questions?
And correct, congratulations on being one of 9 in the
Yeah.
state.
Thank you.
That is a really big,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank
lot of
you.
work.
Up next is the Whiteman Area Leadership Council presented by Greg Franken. Am I pronouncing that?
Correct, very good.
Okay. And Tracy is not here.
Yeah,
Okay.
so maybe do this by myself.
Okay.
So I am.
Kind of strict orders to rein you in if necessary.
Yeah. And,
Okay, set the timer now.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing to do. I am Greg Franken, President of White Mary Leadership Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
So,
And
we don't have that.
looking forward to or not increase, but continued funding of White Area Leadership Council. The mission of White Area Leadership Council is to ensure the long-term viability of White Area space. And I'll just call it WALK. We call it WALK for short. So I don't have to say that every time. But we track many key issues involving the base. We meet monthly. And things always come up, and so if something new is identified, we start keeping an eye on it. So we also develop and maintain relationships with government officials, DOD officials, Air Force people, industry partners, and communities, other communities around the country. Our board members, in order to really protect Whiteman and know what's going on, we've got to get out there and find out what's going on. And so we have a lot of board members that are on very key boards or groups. So for instance, we have 3 Air Force Global Strike Command civic leaders. So they sit on General Boussier, the commander of Air Force Global Strike Command. They sit on his civic leader group. That's very important on
Very high.
knowing what's going on. Strategic Deterrent Coalition. They support the modernization of the nuclear triad. And we have 3 board members on that. We have a board member on Association of Defense Communities Board. And we have a commissioner on the Missouri Military Preparedness Enhancement Commission. So we're not only, we're not only federal, national, but we're doing stuff at the state level too. We have 3 members that are on the Congressman Alford's Military Advisory Committee. And then we have, I think, 5 on our sister organization, the Base Community Council. 5 people are on that board as well. So there's a lot of interchangeable. Some of the things that we go to the Strategic Deterrent Coalition workshop, and there is a lot of travel, but that's how we find out things. So like on the Strategic Deterrent Coalition workshop, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, we went to that, and there was a presentation by the Committee of Foreign Investment and Land around military installations. All right, so based on going to that, we started tracking that in here, or trying to implement it and watching that. And I'll get to that a little bit later, but because we were there, we were ahead of the game on what everybody else was doing. And so I'll explain that later. But we go to the Strategic Deterrent Coalition, Association Defense Community Workshop, Innovation Summit, National Summit. We go to all the Military Preparedness and Enhancement Commission meetings. We're in frequent communication with our congressional delegation, Rep. Alford's office, Senator Schmidt's office, Senator Hawley's office. We have great relationships with each one of those offices. We go out there, we visit them. We go to the Pentagon. We visit with, every time I've been to the Pentagon, we've met with the Secretary of the Air Force. And the head of Air Force Reserve, and installation people, and Air Guard people. And so the Pentagon, I mean, that we're fortunate that we're able to meet with those people, because not everybody gets to meet with those people. So and then let me circle back around on the foreign investment with in the US. So just today, Senator Schmidt released a press release. Last year, the Committee of Foreign Investment sent out a report of protected bases and facilities from foreign investment of commercial or personal reasons for land around military bases. Well, Whiteman wasn't on it. Okay. And so we were in contact with the congressional delegation. And so Rep. Alford and Senator Schmidt were working on it. And then today, we just found out through Senator Schmidt's office that they have added Whiteman to that list. And so basically what that is the revised rule, it's a rule, would add Whiteman to the list of military installations that are protected from suspicious foreign investment. The rule would apply to any commercial or personal real estate transaction to a foreign person or entity within a 100-mile radius. Our governor issued an executive order at the beginning of this year, a 10-mile radius. So that's good that we're on that. And that's one thing, WALK was ahead of, that's what I'm saying, WALK was ahead of the game on it because of what stuff we were doing. And we did have a situation where a developer was inquiring in this area about the B-21 coming in. And it just didn't feel right. And so everybody worked together on it, the base, the community, and because the developer was from a state that is known for shell companies for China. And so that was kind of maybe the red flag, but it all checked out fine. But the thing is, we all work together, we were all aware. That's the main thing. Competition, our fellow bases around, or would love to have what we have with the B2, and the B21 coming. And so we're always looking to see, what each state is doing, to support their bases and work at a state level, and working with the Missouri Military Advocate to see what we can do to be better and to help protect Whiteman, because there is a lot of competition and it's cutthroat. The B21, we monitor that, B21 bed down, the economic impact study's done. And it came out and it said we're, the preferred location number 2, because Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota is gonna be number 1. And the thing that you need to understand about stuff with the B21, one, it's a highly classified program. And so there might be a lot of misinformation out there of, okay, how many people are, is Whiteman going to get? I mean, I've heard somebody say 5,000. I've heard somebody say 6,000 more. And then I've heard 1,000. Well, so nobody knows. So it all depends on when we get it and how many aircraft we get. I mean, there's a lot of variables. So I just want to, make you aware, if you hear something, come to us, because we probably kind of know what the real answer might be. And the real answer might be, we don't know. Okay, so there's, just beware of misinformation on that. But it's on track and we're looking good for the B21. 442nd future mission. I think probably a lot of you know that the A-10s are going away. So the state of Missouri is kind of taking, and the Office of Missouri Military Advocate is kind of taking the lead on the future mission of the A-10. So there's a lot of misinformation on that as well. So be careful with that as well. If you hear something and you're not sure, contact somebody at Whiteman Area Leadership Council and we'll tell you what we know and what we find to be true. But there's a lot of ifs on that and it's being worked. And hopefully it'll work out, but there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. And then the Missouri Military Community Reinvestment Grant, we've applied for the last, I think, 4 years. We've applied for grants. It's a 50-50 match with the state. First 2 years we did housing study phase 1 and 2. And so WALK has to come up with 50% of that. And then child care study was the 3rd year. And then last year we did a regional promotional video that we want to show to incoming airmen to Whiteman, so that they have a very positive feeling when they get here, and they don't think, they don't have any negative feelings about coming to Whiteman, because we hear things, they're coming in the middle of nowhere, and that's not necessarily true. We have a lot to offer in this region, right? And so we just finished up that, and we're working on a strategy of how to get that out and push that out. And like all those studies, those are all available to anybody that wants them. Okay. But what we're doing now is more than we've ever done. And we just keep doing more. And so one thing I want to give you, which I forgot to put in the packet, is the economic impact report for Whiteman. So why does WALK do what they do? My assistant, Suzanne.
Yeah, I know.
Full pledge colleague.
Yeah, Suzanne is, because Suzanne and I do a lot of
It makes it happen.
traveling for WALK
Make it
together.
happen.
So
Thank you.
I'll probably hear about calling her an assistant. But,
I think you already have.
I'm dead in the water now. But what you have in front of you is why we do what we do. I don't know of another organization locally that is doing what we're doing and looking out and trying to protect Whiteman. Now, you can only do so much, right? But we're trying. And 909 million in overall economic impact to the region. And that's why we do what we do. And, you know, WALK is working on ways to increase their funding, like everybody else. I mean, we're spending more and doing those studies and in addition to other stuff that we want to do. So we're always trying to see how we can increase our funding, but we appreciate the funding that the city of Warrensburg provides us, and very gracious for it, because without that, we couldn't do everything that we're trying to do. So with that, I'll take any questions.
And I should know this, sorry, Suzanne. As I've been involved with the chamber a long time, I should know this, but is the area, Whiteman Area Leadership Council area, an exact overlap with Base Community Council, or is it slightly different? Or as far as what sort of communities are involved, or is it not really even about the communities? It's more about the entities that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you how I kind of describe the two organizations. All right, we're fighting the same battle, but we have different missions. So yeah, there is overlap between the two a little bit. So like when you're talking about maybe housing or childcare, spousal employment, you know, education and stuff like that, there's some overlap there. You know, BCC takes care of the airmen and the families, and Whiteman Area Leadership Council, we get into the weeds and work problems at all different levels.
Right.
Right. That's why we did housing study, to see if we had a problem, or a childcare study. And so there is some overlap because we work together, and that's one thing that, you know, probably a lot of people don't know. Those two organizations did not have any kind of communication at all in the last, 7 years ago. Nobody knew what Whiteman Area Leadership Council did. And now we got a team of teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is some overlap, and I think we work together. Oh, Carl will say that when he gets up here. But yeah, there is some overlap, and the community representation is different. You know, the individuals are different on WALK than they are on the.
Right.
But we do have overlap, obviously.
And is there an online presence at all for WALK?
Yeah, we have a website, and that's the other thing. We do have a website. It needs to be improved. And that's one thing we've talked about is, like, we don't have a Facebook page or anything like that. We need to get our message out better. And so we're talking about getting our.
Talk about our other investors in our investor call, and we have one a little bit later this week.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we started doing quarterly investor updates. And so, which I believe all of you should be invited. If you're not, let me know. And so it's a quick 30-minute Zoom call or less. And I just give an update of what's going on with WALK.
Great. Because there are other cities that invest in WALK as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's other cities, there's counties, and then there's individual businesses as well. And that's, with what we're doing now, we're trying to figure out, okay, how we get our funding up. Because what we do is different than like Base Community Council. Hope this is okay for me to say, Carl, but Base Community Council is more touchy-feely, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you're supporting airmen.
Yeah.
And us, it's just like we're rolling around in the weeds over here and you know, searching for information and trying to make sure that, you know, we're attacking things. And it's a little bit different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
Makes sense. Yep.
Any other questions?
Again, just thank you for the work you do. I'm really grateful to my past time with the chamber for helping educate me about our military community. I was completely ignorant, frankly, when I moved here in 2006. I don't have any immediate family that are in service. I have a grandfather and an uncle who were, but it's really been eye-opening and an honor to learn more about the work that happens at Whiteman and the impact on our community. And I think it's something that many folks in our community don't really understand. Not only how financially valuable having the base right here is, but what a contribution to our community the members who serve at Whiteman are, and the wide variety of people who serve as well. And so, again, thank you for the work you do, and thanks for coming to present.
Well, we have probably the best board ever, engagement and we not only try to, to understand issues that affect Whiteman, but we also try to understand the mission.
Yeah.
And that's very important, but yeah, so, anybody, have other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Well, I don't know how long I took, but hopefully I did.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's what tonight's for.
Up next is Big Brothers Big Sisters, presented by Dana Phelps.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. I am Dana Phelps, in 5.5 years, Executive Director of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Johnson County. I know we received documents from me last week, so I kind of want to just start to say, do you have any questions? I'm trying to send over a little bit of good stuff. Of course, I could send you 30 pages and I could talk for 3 hours.
There is a time limit.
We do value our relationship with the city, and we work really hard to make sure that we carry our end of the bargain. So on behalf of our board of directors and our families, our bigs and our littles, I am here to ask that you continue that contract again, with us allowed to be at the Barnett House, and also the $2,000 a quarter. So we didn't ask to increase. That money serves us well. We also think that we hold up our end of the deal well of taking care of the property, doing upgrades on the building, and just collaborating with other folks that come through and around Shepherd Park. So it's been great to work with Chris, with Warrensburg Park and Rec. A lot of changes have happened. We were glad to see those, because, it does make a difference to us since we sit right there on the property. So that's where we're at. I did send you a lot of good information about our program. So we're twofold, if you will, the way I see it. We have our program of our bigs and our littles. That's our main focus. We focus on that mentorship with youth in our community. The statistics show that we are absolutely killing it. Our kids are doing great. We made 20 matches last year. I put in your packet last week that we were set to make, or we've made 5 this year. Cameron and I met today and we are looking at making at least 10 more by the end of August. So we're reaching the kiddos and the families that need us. So there's no doubt about that. We just celebrated 25 years in this community. And Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, which we are a part of, which when I get before to speak to lots of years, I always like to point out that we are a part of that. However, they do not fund us. We're a 501c3. We raise all the money we have local here to keep our doors open. So we are proud to be a part of a organization that this year is celebrating 120 years. So the sustainability is there. And again, I could go on and on about our bigs and our littles. So the other part of why we asked for this contract to be renewed is because our donation, our thrift center serves us very well. It provides well over half of the income that brings into Big Brothers Big Sisters. So what that does is it allows us to be more sustainable in what we do without going around and asking for money. The last few years, I've worked really hard to go after some grant monies. So you may or may not have noticed that we're not quite as active fundraising in the community. We try to do more partnerships, more collaborations, and things like that that can bring a source of income to what we do. So I'm very proud of the thrift operation and how we've grown. However, I also, again, just because we have lots of ears listening, I do want to point out that we're very giving. We share what we bring in. We share with the collegiate closet at UCM. We share with the teachers' warehouse. We share with the clothes closet. We share with Rise. There's lots of other organizations. I call, we've heard a lot lately about the free furniture and the free store. If somebody calls me for furniture donation, I immediately give them Bob's number. There's, unfortunately, we do get some left in our driveway, so we share. So I just kind of want to clear up that it's a win-win. Like, we take in over 440,000 pounds of stuff that I'm not sure where it might be in Warrensburg. And it is true that it is a source of income for us, but our families and our members in our community get first dibs too. Like, we're gonna share it if we can here local. My theory has always been, and those of you that have known me for years know it's true, the better we all do, the better we all do. So if I can share with your organization something that'll make you better and keep us all from going around and asking the businesses that get asked all the time for money. So your money means a great deal to us. Your generosity with us being housed at the Barnett House means a lot to us. And again, like I said, we work very hard to hold up our end of the deal and help take care of Shepherd Park. The money just is there to kind of help us with the upkeep and the utilities and all the things that keep our doors open. We get grants for the fun stuff. So just a few notes since I sent over the packet to Jody last week. July 3rd, we did have a fishing outing. A couple of my board members, Eddie's here tonight, stepped up, and Marcy was the photographer, of course. So we decided to do fishing at Hurdle Springs. So I always like to give a little inspirational moment when I get the chance to talk. So my inspirational moment tonight is we had some littles that were interested in fishing. My board member, Jimmy Hawk, said, let me round that up. I'll get poles from the conservation department. So we had about, I don't know, close to 25 of us out there. It was on July 3rd because I kind of thought it would be good. So our families had a barbecue and stuff, you know, heading into the holiday weekend. I love it when they eat a lot, and they did, but we had to pull them away from the fishing. So the point is, many of our littles had never fished before. And Hurdle Springs was hot. I mean, we caught so many crappie, so many bass. It was unreal. So just a perk for UCM, and we went out there with the shelter and the pond. It's healthy. We caught a lot of fish. One of our bigs, she was fishing because she was trying to support her little, who was very excited about fishing, and she caught a great big bass. And Eddie can tell you, because we had to help her, she was freaking out. She was like, that's it. Like, I only did this to support Zoe. I did not want to catch a fish, and I never fished a fish. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff that we do. We just try to provide opportunities for not only our littles, but their families and their big. And we truly work hard to collaborate with a lot of different organizations in Warrensburg. I say every time I get to speak publicly, Johnson County has supported this organization for 25 years. There's less than 250 agencies of Big Brothers Big Sisters in the United States. So that we should all congratulate ourselves for that. It's a big deal that you guys support this organization that's been around for 120 years in Warrensburg / Johnson County, Missouri. So I'll leave you with that. I appreciate being here. I appreciate our community. Again, I'll ask if you have any questions for me.
You mentioned thrift centers. You said the word thrift center. That's where people donate the things and then you all go through and sort it out and send it to the different locations.
Right.
Yeah.
So so I've kind of tried to upgrade, and we've done, Chris and the city council helped get the driveway and everything, and we improved the look of our bins, and I got the grant for the shed. And so I kind of decided that instead of calling it the donation center, from, we're gonna call it our thrift operation.
Okay,
So,
good, okay,
Mhm.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you guys.
Up next is the Depot Renovation, Preservation and Maintenance Corporation by David Pierce.
Bill for Neighbor.
Thank you,
Thrilled to
sir.
have Bill here tonight, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rip, you.
Well, hello, I'm Bill Bernier. I'm the chairman of the Depot Renovation Corporation. I've worked with David Pierce, some of you may know him. He's been around a while and he's our vice chairman. And Jessica Hackler, who's our secretary. So this is the leadership team. Our task is to provide the community with a functioning railroad depot, chamber office, community room. When we started this project, downtown Warrensburg was a mess. And there wasn't a single building that was up to par. And we restored the depot. And then after I retired from the depot board, Suzanne came back and lassoed me and said, we need a new roof, we need new windows. And so I came back and we're in that process. And we've done a lot of it. Our depot, as you heard earlier this evening, it's the home of the Warrensburg Chamber of Commerce. It's the home of Amtrak in Warrensburg. It's the bus station for Greyhound, and it's the Oats station in Warrensburg. So it's an important community service. We also have the Jack Moore Community Room and lots of parking, some of which was taken away when we built the new platform. Another thing that we have become exceedingly involved in is the preservation of Amtrak. I'm gonna let David talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Bill. And Bill's been involved in Depot for over 40 years. So it's a beautiful facility, one of the best in the state, and it's leaders like Bill that's made it happen. So we're really glad to have his leadership. The Depot brings a lot of groups together, whether it be the Chamber, Main Street, Convention and Visitors Bureau, the city, and that's what makes it very, very successful. And some of the information we handed out to you talks about the importance of Amtrak and how that is really such a great benefit for our community. We've already heard how the university and how Whiteman Air Force Base utilizes that. And that works because Marcy on Convention and Visitors Bureau serves on it. Suzanne Taylor serves on the statewide leadership, Bill and myself. And so what we try to do is to talk about the importance of Amtrak and how important it is to our community. Last December, we had the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission, and some of you were there when they came to Warrensburg, and they're the ones that oversee the entire transportation budget for our state. They were here and they took the train from here to Kansas City. And for some of those members on the MHTC, that was the first time they'd ever been on Amtrak. And so it's really important that we have a beautiful facility like this, to have the support from the city, the police department, to have it so close to downtown. It's really a good combination with our community, and we really want to thank the city for your support.
So it may seem like everything's just fine with the depot, but what we have is we have our native Warrensburg sandstone crumbling as the basic structure of the building. And so our objective over the next few months is to get professional evaluation of what needs to be done to preserve that edifice. And then there are windows that need to be replaced. And frankly, in the past, we've just replaced windows without concern about historic preservation. But now we have more focus on the historic preservation side of it. And so we've learned just in the last few months that we can get new windows for old buildings to preserve the historic nature of the building. So we're gonna be working on that. So those are the two primary areas where we're focused. What we're asking for 2000, whatever it is, I'm always confused about the fiscal year. Eddie, you'll have to explain it to me someday.
Our finance person's here.
But what we are seeking for this fiscal year is $2,500. We got $2,000 last year. And we received $5,000 in the 2 years prior to that. We'll probably be coming back and asking for more when we actually know how much it's gonna cost us to restore that stuff. But that's what we're at. So, questions?
Are you seeking grants? Once you know,
We get a grant every year from Amtrak. We try to obtain grants.
Good.
And we use those, so if you go down to the depot, you'll notice that, you know, there's mulch around the bushes, and there are bushes that grow and that kind of stuff, and that all takes money, and some of that is from grant money. A lot of that is from volunteer labor.
Bruce Euler serves as city representative on Depot, and Brett Penrose is an ex officio member, and so is Suzanne Taylor.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you.
yeah,
Up next is the Pioneer Trails Regional Planning Commission, and Mr. Norman Lucas.
Good evening, I'm Norman Lucas, the Executive Director and Pioneer Trails Regional Planning Commission.
You might need to get in front of the microphone so our online folks can hear that.
Sure.
Yeah.
thank you.
Which is your Regional Planning Commission, and we want to reiterate while we're here. This is Deputy Director Christopher Hess. We want to reiterate how much we appreciate you allowing Daniel Doolan to serve on our board. And we always appreciate the input that she brings to the governance of our organization. Chris has given you some hard copies of what you already have electronically about our annual report from last year. And we do very much appreciate the annual dues payment that you make year after year, which is of course based upon per capita. It's roughly 39 cents per person in the population of Warrensburg, just like all the other communities within the 4-county region that we serve. And I think I want tonight to let you know a little bit about some of the overlap that we previously heard about from Greg representing Walk. Because when Walk first applied with the Missouri Military Preparedness and Enhancement Commission for that housing study money, that was our work with them in preparing that application. Many times, organizations that are affiliated with the city of Warrensburg, as well as the city itself, will turn to us for help in preparing applications for various grant opportunities. And that is one of our specialties, identifying those grant opportunities that will help our communities, and then preparing applications when those opportunities arise, if there are projects which fit the parameters of those grant opportunity regulations and requirements. So we do an awful lot of that. Your agreement with us that you're considering this evening allows for Warrensburg to get that done for you at a member discount rate. On top of that, we also have been very involved in the last year or two with other things that the city has asked us to help with that we did not charge because you pay your annual dues. We see that as a service that we can do, whether it's refining a request for proposals, or if it's pre-planning that goes into the McGuire Street project, or if it was some of the pre-planning that went towards the work on the wastewater facilities. Whichever thing we might be called upon to help with, that's what we're here to do, that's what we do. And that's how we see to it that you get your money's worth when you're a member of the Regional Planning Commission. The reason I want to introduce Christopher Hess this evening is because as Deputy Director, at the end of this year, he will be stepping into my position as I retire. So this will be my last time with you this evening, and I want to say how much I've appreciated the support that you've given the commission over my tenure, these 7 last years. And I fully expect and hope that you would support Chris in the same way, since he's really stepping into the position, having learned all of the things that need to be learned in order to carry on the work of the commission. Some of the things that you might not know about that we do, some of the things that don't really pop to the forefront. As I mentioned, we're kind of an overlap with some of the other efforts that you are involved in. We administer the Military Airport Zoning Commission around Whiteman Air Force Base. So when WALK talks about the possible infringement of foreign buyers picking up pieces of land too close to Whiteman Air Force Base for anyone's liking, that's another thing that the Military Airport Zoning Commission has been monitoring on behalf of Whiteman and on behalf of the governments and the jurisdictions around Whiteman. We are also a member of the Base Community Council, excuse me, and have been since I've been with the Regional Planning Commission. We're very happy to participate in their work as well. Anytime the depot has opportunities to apply for grants from USDOT or Federal Highway, we're there to support them with help towards an application if they want that. And we have been in communication with them about needs at the depot. So we try to stay very attuned to the needs of Warrensburg. I think we've been very successful at that. And we try to make ourselves available to help in any of the situations where our staff is prepared and expert enough to lend a hand with those things you need. We also work with MoDOT as the transportation planning partner for this region. And I'm going to let Chris say a couple of things about our transportation planning, because up until he became deputy director, his title was transportation planner, and that has been his major duties. If you have any questions about transportation, Chris is happy to answer questions.
Always a fun topic. Regional planning commission typically oversees the regional needs. It's one of the biggest roles for the transportation planner and the position for the RPC with MoDOT. Everyone's aware funding is getting stricter and stricter. Projects are getting harder to get paid for. The RPC, through their efforts and the counties, the cities, identifies the regional needs on the MoDOT network, prioritizes and works with MoDOT to have them put on the unfunded needs list, or eventually the STIP for programming. Over the past year or so, increasingly MoDOT is rejecting cost share programs if it's not identified through the regional process, or they're just not even considering programming. So we try to make sure that the cities at the local level are always working to have a say. Anytime you see MoDOT get up and say, we work at the grassroots level, well, that's us helping them get to the grassroots level. Transportation program, I would like to say we can get all your roads fixed, but we all know that's not possible, so we really advocate to try to make sure those are happening. Not always in a timely manner, but eventually someday maybe.
Any questions about the Regional Planning Commission in general?
You covered 3 counties, isn't it? Johnson, Pettis, Saline.
Saline and Lafayette.
Oh, forgot about Lafayette.
And depending on which program you're discussing, the RPC, it actually changes. Our districts, we also are part of the Kansas City District from MoDOT. RSOC, which is Regional Homeland Security. We administer that. That reaches outside of our 4 counties as well. So it does change in some ways depending on the program, but for
most purposes, the 4 counties.
Okay. Thank you.
By chance, are your meetings available virtually or only in person?
We can offer the meetings virtually. We usually do that by request.
Okay.
Because we're trying to get as many board members there in person
Yeah.
as we can possibly get.
Sure. Just as an interested community member, I just wondered. So I see that they're all in Concordia,
They
so,
are.
yes, so,
But yes, we'll be happy to
That's
provide
what
you with a link if you want to request that.
okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
Jennifer.
you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Mr. Kramer with the Base Community Council, or BCC as it's been called. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, good evening again. My name is Carl Kramer, President of Whiteman Base Community Council. I want to first say thank you. Warrensburg City Council has been supportive of BCC and our sponsorship funding at a $3,000 level. And it's been very, very much appreciated in recent years. And we appreciate your consideration for the same support for that fiscal 24-25 budget season. So I will corroborate what Greg was speaking to before. In the basic concept of, so Whiteman leadership appreciates, it can't be understated how much Whiteman leadership appreciates the volunteers, whether it's Whiteman Base Community Council, whether it's Whiteman Area Leadership Council, for us to represent and support and advocate where they can't. Because it's through that community support, through what WALK does and through what BCC does, helps them accomplish to support the mission. And again, as Greg was alluding to, we're speaking to, we do it in different ways. And it's important we do it in different ways, and we definitely accomplish more together than we do individually. And we definitely have come together more as 2 organizations where it's appropriate, where there is that overlap, to make sure that we offer the right support. So for Whiteman Base Community Council, again, our organization executes our support 2 different ways. We're an organization that has 16 communities that come together to support airmen and families at Whiteman Air Force Base. We do it first through a relationship between a point of contact with 1 to 3 board members for each of those 16 communities, and individual squadrons that those POCs from a community engage with to understand support and execute support. But then what I'm going to speak to you about this evening at the sponsorship level, whether it's City of Warrensburg or individual businesses, we then help fund overarching support mechanisms in a variety of ways. So little pamphlet I provided you that Suzanne was kind enough to print for me this evening, and the trifold that was in your package for today's meeting. In the lower left-hand corner of the page, back page, it gives a little spotlight of some of the areas that we offer support. So we have 1 annual fundraiser a year, Bomber Ball event. This year's on November 15th, if you want to mark the calendar. But that event's also a fundraiser. And that fundraising from that allows us to offer our support throughout the year. And what's important is the need is not static. Our organization has to continue to evolve and reflects Because the needs of Team Whiteman, the needs of spouses, needs of children and airmen, the Whiteman continue to evolve. So we continue to evolve with that need, and the funding that we are getting from these sponsorships allows us to flex for unbudgeted requests that evolve every year. So we look at big lift items like Airmen Over the Holidays, where we will fund 15 to 18 airplane tickets to send an airman home to be with their friends, family, loved ones over Christmas, is a definite rifle shot of approach of support. But when that airman goes home, he or she gets the benefit of their friends, he's seeing the love and support that surrounds Whiteman Air Force Base. They can see that someone who doesn't know them at all is offering a great impact of support. Airman last year had not been home for 10 years. And we funded an airplane ticket for him to go to Dakar, Senegal. But whether it's New Zealand or Houston, Texas, or Japan, Costa Rica, Guam, that support is relevant and needed. But then there's programs right here where individuals in the community say that they want to support Whiteman Air Force Base in the way they can. To adopt an airman program where we fund the background checks for families to say, you know, we want to support, and we want to go through the background check that allows airmen to enter their home, about 3 or 4, and they have opportunity to take a nap, home cooked meal, opportunity, ATV riding, hunting, fishing, to disconnect from their daily mission physically and mentally outside the gate, to come back to serve a strong airman. But it also gives the sense of accomplishment for those families to have their own impact to support Team White. Then you have educational scholarships. Dale Buckingham, who's the first command chief of Whiteman Air Force Base, we had a president of this organization before. He passed away suddenly. He left service, worked for Park University. We need to continue his love of airman education. So we now offer 10 $500 educational scholarships to support certification, to support the ability for an airman to have tuition assistance or education. And continuing education, we not only support their mission, but when airmen leave service, we want them to stay in Missouri. So a lot of guardsmen, Air Force Reserve or Missouri Air National Guard, a lot more applications last year came from those members. Whenever they continue their education, they stay here in Missouri. They fill jobs that are needed, not only for themselves or for a spouse. But then again, as our organization flexes, we learned that there was an opportunity to support Operation Warm Heart. That's an opportunity that if you had a family member that was involved in an accident, a death in the family, needed to be home now. Well, that airman can apply with the Red Cross, but sometimes they can't make a decision in a very timely fashion. And if you have a need to leave today, you'd love to have that opportunity to get a decision today, whether you can have somebody that can fund the airplane ticket. So now Whiteman Base Community Council made a $3,000 donation to their organization this year, and minimum of 7, maybe more over the past month. 7 airmen have already benefited from that opportunity, to where the First Sergeants Council is who received those funds, and they can then make that decision today if it's warranted to help that airman today. So the last thing I'll mention is one thing we're working on is deployment support. So it's an additional lift for us to extend our support to airmen that are deploying. If they have needs, we're gonna be setting up shop, if you will, within deployment centers. So we can offer support in a new way. And this was, again, not of our own device. We learned that there was an opportunity, that this need exists. So we're working to figure out how to execute that need. So again, we appreciate the support from the city of Warrensburg that's helping execute our support to support airmen and family at Whiteman. So any questions regarding Whiteman Basement Council?
Another question, do you have online presence somewhere, a Facebook page or website?
So we do have it's a landing page for whitemanbcc.com. And then we have a Facebook page that we continue to try to get the message out regarding how we execute.
Gotcha. Thanks, Carl.
On the, on your Operation Warm Heart, in order for the individual to be able to respond quickly to a family emergency that might have normally been funded through Red Cross, are you able to get funding reimbursed from Red Cross because they're moving slower? Have you tried to get some of that? Or is that even a possibility?
So unsure at this point.
Okay.
We're
Who
new
knew?
enough in the relationship. We just understood that there was a need that was being unfulfilled to support airmen and their quality of life. Greg mentioned touchy feely, 100%. You know, we impact airmen every day. Thankfully. So those requests through their, you know, that squadron's first sergeant, and it goes to the first sergeant's council. Maybe there'll be an opportunity where we could get reimbursement. I think it'd be unlikely. Never hurts to ask.
Never hurts to ask.
No. But in relation to, well, you know, we know that there's more need, and maybe the Red Cross can evolve and maybe they can respond faster, but until that opportunity exists, we're happy to offer that funding that help that need.
And I don't remember how much you said was funding that.
We made a donation of $3,000 this year, actually, and there's another 1,000 that's going to them, a great supporter here in Warrensburg that they made a donation, so it actually be 4,000.
And is it a tax exempt organization?
We're a 501c4.
501c4. Okay. And then the bomber ball, that's your only actual big fundraiser?
Yes.
I didn't know that. And is, the people that attend that, is that officers as well as airmen?
Yes.
And you're, all military out there at Whiteman are eligible to attend.
Yeah, so it's quite the process, because we want to say thank you in a small way. So all Whiteman attendees, when they attend Bomber Ball, attend on our behalf. So with sponsors like City of Warrensburg or anybody else, or their buys a table, they're helping fund the military attendees and their spouse to attend without having to pay. And so we'll have, of that 330, 350 that attend, about 50% will be attendees from Whiteman. We think that's important because, one, they understand our mission more. They understand how we can execute the work. But then also part of what we do is professional development for airmen. We have, you know, they have opportunity to attend an event they've never attended something like this before. So yes, it's about half the crowd are military attendees and they attend for free as our guests.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman Pro Tem.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
Just gonna give you guys a quick update on where we're at with community agreements this year, what they're budgeted for. And then tell you where we're at. It's just got a quick summary, just, we wanted to kind of either kick it off or wrap it up. We'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
Framework around it. So, in FY 24, for your community agreements in the, you had budgeted $52,250. The actual line item has 80,000 in it, but this is just for these community groups. This doesn't include the art commission, the historic preservation, that 52,000 that I'm talking about, or the pioneer trails. Those all fall into that other part of that $80,000. But it was $52,250. What I heard requested tonight was $63,500. And so several people asked for the same amount that they currently had, but then several of them also asked for increases. From the 52 to the 63,500, that is a 21.5% increase. Last year, the request was for 55,250, and you awarded 52,250. And so the request from last year's request to this is a 14.9% increase. But just wanted to kind of let you know where we were. Expenditure wise, out of the whole
line item, including the planning commission, the art commission, the historic preservation. 67,000 has been spent. There's $12,000 left. It's committed, but it hasn't been drawn down yet for this last quarter.
So if we, wait a minute. So if we approve 52,250, how did we spend 67?
Like I said, the 52,250 was for these community groups, but in that same line item, it includes Pioneer Trails Planning Commission, the Art Commission, and the Historic Preservation, which are actually city boards and commissions.
Oh,
So I was separating those two out because when you,
but they were here
yes.
just a minute ago.
Yes, and they, but I couldn't even pick up what they were asking for in their
Okay.
dollar amounts. They weren't as precise as saying,
Right.
we want this amount. So, but I just, that's part of that 80,000.
I see.
And so they've been collecting from that.
Okay. Who we didn't hear from, and I don't know where their money comes from, just kind of economic development.
So Johnson County Economic Development is actually a contract for service.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, we have an agreement that outlines everything that they do for us. They are, gosh, it's failing me. Are they in our economic development line item? They have received $75,000 for the last several years, and they have not requested an increase since I've been here. So,
Okay.
and
All right.
I spoke with Tracy Brantner, who's
Right.
the director, and she's not requesting an increase this year either.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't want them to be left out.
Yes, two of them were moved out of the community organizations and into, one of them was moved to memberships.
One, and that's the chamber.
The Chamber of Commerce, and then, Johnson County Economic Development was moved over to contractual.
Okay, thank you.
And so why is Pioneer Trails considered a like internal group?
Pioneer Trails, yeah.
Say that again.
So,
They
okay,
actually have, I don't know, it may be something that we need to do a journal entry on, because there are several expenses out of this line item for them in the current year.
because I can see distinguishing between the city's own boards and commissions and task forces and in the community. So,
So are you, I didn't hear all of it. So are you saying that maybe they need to be a contract for service?
The Pioneer Trails, you mean?
Pioneer Trail?
Actually, I think we're moving them to dues and memberships, because that $7,100 that they request is our membership.
Oh, okay.
And so then, and there are some services that, you know, benefits
Yeah.
that we receive from being members of, the RPC. But if we were to ask them to do any grant writing or anything like that, we would be charged an additional fee, but we would get it at a discounted rate because we are members.
I see. Okay, thank you.
So.
All right.
That 71,000 is part of
100.
7,100, $7,158.44
yes,
has actually been charged to the community group for that 62,000. I was saying that, or 67,000 that has been spent. So we need to, finance will move that.
Okay. Got it.
gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 7, first and second reading of an ordinance. Item 7.1, an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the contract with Burns and McDonald Incorporated for the McGuire Street Corridor upgrade project presented by City Manager Doolin.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council. You all heard last meeting that we had 2 weeks ago about the challenges that we're having with the sanitary sewer along the McGuire Street corridor. Part of that assessment that we did of the condition as part of our Rethink McGuire project. We talked about how it is staff's recommendation to move forward with rehabbing that sanitary sewer before we do our new street and any of those other infrastructure improvements that are planned along with the McGuire Street corridor. That is going to require, I lost my memo here with all the other things, apologies. That is going to require an amendment to the Burns and McDonald engineering services contract that we have for the sanitary sewer design. It is an increase not to exceed $136,242 for the engineering and design of those sanitary sewer repairs, rehabilitation along that corridor. That brings the total for the Burns and McDonald contract to 4.3 million, approximately $4.3 million. We will be using, it is a staff's recommendation, to reallocate the $1.2 million that was allocated for the enterprise lift station retirement dollars in this year's budget. It is our recommendation to reallocate those dollars and use those instead for the sanitary sewer improvements along McGuire. Both those projects are part of the collection system, so we can still feel good that we are improving our collection infrastructure. It's just one project is taking priority over another project. Staff has taken a look at what it's going to take to keep the enterprise lift station up and operating efficiently for the next 3 to 5 years. And so we are including that in the water pollution control budget. And we will cover that a little bit later in the presentation tonight. Interim Public Works Director Bill Adledge is here, and he is going to go over the WPC budget with you all, and it will include an allocation so that we are prepared and we are not caught off guard with the maintenance that is going to be required out of the enterprise lift station, understanding that it is reaching the very end of its useful life, but it is certainly going to limp along much. It's got more life left in it than the sanitary sewer along McGuire. So that is staff's recommendation to approve this contract. Maddie Gibson? Gibler. Close. Maddie Gibler is here with Burns and McDonald tonight. She's gonna go over some of the pictures that I showed you last week. She is the engineer behind that. She's got the correct terminology rather than smushed and crushed that she can share with you. And then she's also gonna go over some of the rehabilitation and repairs that are recommended that she is working on. And I'm actually very excited, and Maddie, I hope that you talk about what our plan is as far as getting 24-hour design services going so that we can get this project up and going so we don't have a lot of delays.
Absolutely. Council members, thank you for having me tonight. Nothing more I like talking about than stormwater is sanitary sewers. I recognize quite a few of you from the open house about 6 weeks ago. So my other underground infrastructure passion this evening. As Danielle mentioned, and I know she presented a little bit, some of the CCTV closed circuit television results. Around the same time as that open house, works were in progress to televise all of your underground sewers within the McGuire Street corridor. Between Ferguson Avenue and Broad Street approximately. This overview here, which I believe you saw a couple weeks ago, basically prioritizes either rehabilitation or replacement of those sewers based on the observed condition via television and photos. So red is bad, green is okay in this case, and yellow is subjective. Unfortunately, in this corridor, there were a lot of T and Y connections of sewer mains, which is pretty unusual for this day and age, and it prohibits the ability to both inspect and maintain sewer systems because you don't have access points at the surface at those locations. And so there are a variety of lines here shown also in gray, which indicates that it could not be accessed. So I know Danielle stepped through a few of these photos with you a couple weeks ago at the June 24th meeting. But basically what we've summarized here is some highlights of pretty serious deficiencies within a sewer from a condition perspective. So as your severity of your defects, we call them sewer defects when we do pipeline assessment and certification. It goes from cracks to fractures, just like bones, right? You crack the bone, you fracture it, and then when it's broken, it's fully separated. And once your soil becomes visible, that's when you run into issues with potentially potholes at the surface, because the flow of, in this case, wastewater through these pipes is bringing in the dirt and material from around it. And that's how sinkholes get created. Oftentimes at the surface, you might see that you need to patch your roadway more often. And then worst case scenario, you get a full-on collapse. So these are a few photos here. There are varying degrees of cracks, breaks, fractures, and so on and so forth. But essentially, once you get a crack at 4 points, it's called a hinge crack 4, and that's one of your most severe cracks. As is multiple cracks, the photo on the right here. Then once those cracks become separated from each other, you can see a lot of this pipe material in the corridor is vitrified clay pipe from about 70 years ago. Those fractures get pretty serious. And then the next step of progression is when the pipe actually breaks. So in the case here, both of these photos are examples of a broken pipe with some visible soil adjacent to it. So that's the backfill in your trench. In this case, it's on the sides, but you can also see in the photo on the right, there are some soil caving in from above. Some other examples, I know when I was talking with Danielle, I referred to a lot of your service connections as smashed or crushed, which is not proper terminology. A lot of times what you see is defective coating here. So in some cases, these were so deformed at the connection to the existing main that there's no better word to describe it than smushed or crushed. But in this case here, you can see that there's a lot of material coming in from that service connection there, which indicates a poor condition active service line, such as a line that maybe is collapsed or broken immediately adjacent to the main, and some of that material is washing into your public main. Some challenges with this corridor, I mentioned that it's vitrified clay pipe, VCP, it's about 70 years old, very indicative of the time that this pipe was installed. What is pretty abnormal is how this pipe was deflected. So essentially you lay a bunch of pipe segments in, and depending on the pipe material, you can deflect it at the joint. In this case, there were a variety of deflections installed that almost make your pipes curvy. So picture spaghetti noodles sometimes. So instead of having a pipe go from manhole A to manhole B, we might have a pipe that starts at manhole A and deflects and doesn't even go to manhole B, which again is a challenge for inspection and maintenance. So these photos here are kind of a series of progressions to show you how at each end of a pipe it's been deflected, which makes it very hard to access and maintain from the surface or replace. Another issue with deflected pipe is when it comes to pipe rehabilitation. One option is typically to line pipes with CIPP cast in place pipe, which is a great method for repairing slight damages to older pipe systems, and it restores the useful life for sometimes the upwards of 50 years. A challenge with this sewer system is that most of the corridor is 6-inch pipe, and a lot of it's deflected. And so when you start to bend those liners, you're going to lose diameter of your pipe. And when you lose that diameter, you're losing capacity in your system. Sometimes at engineered bends, so if someone purposely put in a T or a Y, a 45, you're going to lose so much constriction that you're not going to have an effective open area, or it's not going to feasibly be able to be lined, which led us to some of our recommendations. This is also just another photo. There were a few sags in the lines. So basically they've kind of sunk or settled at portions of the alignment, and that's where water, in this case wastewater, collects in your system. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive, but ironically, this is one of the least severe defects we saw in your system are some sags, because ultimately water will reach the hydraulic grade line to exit, but it kind of speaks to the condition of the system as a whole. So that leads me to kind of compound off of some of the information that Danielle shared with you all on the 24th, which are some recommendations based on those priorities of rehab or replacement from the condition assessment. So I'm going to start from north to south and work my way in basically 3 segments here. First is from Ferguson Street to Emerson Street. This is just an enlargement of the condition overview that I shared in one of the opening slides. And so from Ferguson down to Emerson, the condition of the main within McGuire Street corridor itself ranges from a high priority to replace due to condition to a medium priority. The main that comes in from the west side of Emerson is in okay condition, thus it received the lowest priority. However, in this area, part of the McGuire Street corridor improvements included a storm sewer system. And in this area, your existing sanitary sewer system is very shallow. Typically, when you see sanitary sewer collection systems, they range anywhere from 6 to 8 feet below grade. We've got about 2 to 2.5 feet from the top of the road to the flow line of the pipe. So you've really only got 18 inches, maybe 2 feet of cover there, which poses a challenge when doing a roadway reconstruction project such as this, where you're trying to install new storm sewer, which is typically shallower, usually in that 30 to 48 inches of cover. But also when you're redoing your whole roadway subgrade, you're getting really close to the top of these already very fragile pipes. So with the condition information here and some of the proposed storm sewer conflicts that we're seeing, we would recommend lowering the profile of this line and replacing it with 8-inch diameter pipe. So I mentioned before that a lot of this system is 6-inch diameter VCP. To comply with the latest Missouri Department of Natural Resources standards for design of gravity sewers, you need 8-inch diameter pipe for your mains. So anywhere where we're gonna recommend lowering and or replacing the main, we would also recommend upsizing it to meet the minimum design standards of the state.
And how deep do they have to be?
To get minimum clearance above your storm sewers, you're probably looking at 6 to 7 feet. If we can go to 8 feet to help with water main crossings, we'll do that as well. There are separation requirements between water and sewer that would dictate some of the profile lowerings. But generally in this corridor, we're talking about taking it to 7 to 8 feet of cover.
Okay.
So that would be lowering it in this case, 5 to 6 feet from what it currently is. The next corridor or portion of the corridor we're gonna focus on is between North Street and Gay Street. And so in this area here, this was one of the locations that was very challenging to TV. In this case, it was due to a pipe collapse that was discovered during television just south of Portland Avenue. So if you all were driving around on the corridor at the end of May, you probably noticed some emergency rehab work occurring around the Wendy's. So at this location, a collapse was discovered and they could no longer transcend the pipe with the camera equipment. And so you can see that some of these lines here were unable to be TV, but the portion that was in such poor condition that it required an emergency repair on the spot. So not much of a surprise here. We would be recommending to replace this portion of the alignment as well. And this is another location too, where there are vertical conflicts. It's a very shallow portion of the sewer system here as well, about 24 to 30 inches of cover. So again, would recommend also lowering this 6 to 8 feet of cover, depending on water main crossings in the area. And to also upsize it to 8-inch sewer to comply with the latest standards of the state. So that's this area. You'll notice I went from line 3 to line 1. We understand that the priority is to get construction moving on this project. And so the portion of McGuire corridor south of North Street. Yes, south of North Street, you gotta wrap your head around it, is the priority. And so this has been deemed a line 1 because it's the first segment south of North Street.
Can you go back to the, sorry, previous slide?
Yes.
Yeah, so that red that's at an angle there, is
Yes.
that because it has over time slipped, or was that the actual original intended shape of and
Of the
direction of
alignment
that
there?
pipe, do you think?
We
It's
didn't
hard-
have any
hard
as-built
to tell.
drawings to know if
Yeah.
it was installed in the trench or the location that it was intended. The red, green, yellow isn't necessarily based on, like if it was 6-inch instead of an 8-inch sewer, it was purely based on condition. So that pipe would have had a series of defects that would have flagged it as a high priority.
I'm just wondering, so instead of that sort of V shape, it will now be
Straight?
as it's
Yes.
corrected, it will be an actual straight line.
Yep, so we would put in a more standard structure there, a manhole that wouldn't have as acute of angles coming in.
Right.
That's also a challenge on a few of these manholes. There were engineered bends immediately outside of the manhole. which makes it very challenging to TV. If it's hard to TV, it's hard to clean.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Jones, did you have a question?
Yeah, so in addition to lowering, we'll also get manholes at locations that are
Yes.
needed or. Okay,
Yes,
and then there
absolutely.
won't be any wonky, access points,
Yeah,
those
there
will
won't be
be,
any wonky connection without access points anymore.
okay,
So what the objective would be is to be putting in a system that can be maintained into the future that meets the state's current design standards and has sufficient cover for future projects, crossings, utilities in the corridor. Hopefully 20 years from now, right? You don't want to see anyone digging up your new roadway project
right.
soon, which is why this is a priority now. Just judging by the Wendy's collapse that was discovered, you don't have 20 years left in these sewers.
Any posts, yeah.
Moving on to the third location, this will be deemed line 2, because it's the second segment south. This was one that was very challenging due to lack of access points. So there were T's and 90-degree bends built into the system without any manholes, which means you couldn't put any camera in. And because they're only 6-inch diameter pipes or 90-degree angles, it's hard to turn a picture like a remote control car that you played with as a kid or that your children might have played with. To get them to turn acutely 90 degrees and then back out is nearly impossible. And so the areas in gray, unfortunately, that was the alignment under the main portion of your corridor. That wasn't able to be assessed. The crossroads at this location are Market Street on the left side of the slide, which is north, and Colton Street on the south, which is the right side of the slide. Part of the Colton Street alignment was in poor condition, and the other portion was in okay condition. However, it's hard to tell from this image here, but there was a slight offset in bends. So we would recommend putting in a straight alignment with one manhole so you can access all of that segment there, which brings me to the next slide. So the bright green is the proposed improvements here. Upsizing everything to an 8-inch. Fortunately, this one's at a pretty respectable depth, in the 6 to 7 feet of range. However, there are some utilities in the area, so we would propose shifting the new alignment into the center line of the drive lane, which will help with your access points having lids. You don't want those under your tires. You shift them to the middle of the lanes. And then it will also help with limiting the amount of bypass pumping that would be needed during construction, because you could construct your new sewer offline of your existing sewer while it's still active. Bypass pump very short amount of time and then flow fill and transition. If you were to put the sewer back in the exact same alignment, you're gonna have to bypass pump around for a longer amount of time until you can build it.
So you're saying that in that area, you would put the sewer down the turn lane, the middle turn lane
The center of the drive lane, actually.
of the drive lane?
Mhm. That would allow to keep at least one lane of traffic going during construction. If not, a way to potentially do 2 if you can use part of the right of way. But once you put your new trench in your drive lane, or I'm sorry, in your turn lane instead of the drive lane, you've now got to figure out a way to get construction equipment and your spoils from your trenching around. And so by pushing it to one side, you may only have to close off the turn lane and are able to keep at least one lane of traffic
Okay.
going.
I see, thank you.
Yeah. The last 2 segments here, we're actually not proposing to do any replacement right now. This is south of Railroad Street, south of the railroad corridor down by Grover. The north and south portion of the alignment was in pretty okay condition, and it's outside of the pavement section, as was the east and west alignment on Grover. So we would recommend keeping this one in place as is. We're trying to be very conscientious of a limited budget and prioritizing what replacements would need to be prioritized within that. So again, you'll see no bright green on this slide because we're recommending to remain in place. And similarly with Broad Street, the condition of Broad Street's east and west running sewer was worse than at Grover. However, this is the very end of the corridor project. This work could be lumped in with a future roadway or infrastructure project, or it could be done as a standalone, potentially with pipe bursting, which wouldn't disrupt your surface improvements. So again, this one right now, we're recommending to leave as is. Therefore, you won't see any recommended improvements here. So I dumped a lot of information about recommendations, but something that's very critical in this project is schedule. So these sewer improvements, we would recommend going straight to basically 100% design submittal. The survey's already been collected as part of the roadway project. We've got good CCTV data that was collected about a month ago. And so to basically hit the ground running straight into a set of plans that both the city and the Department of Natural Resources could review currently. There is a caveat here as far as MDNR reviews go. This project falls into a gray area. It may or may not need to get a construction permit from MDNR because it doesn't quite fall into a sewer extension category. And it doesn't quite fall into an exemption for a like-for-like replacement. A like-for-like replacement would mean if you already had an 8-inch sewer here at the elevation that you needed, then you're just going to replace it in kind. We don't really have that, but we're effectively doing that by keeping everything in the near corridor. So I recommended having a case determination meeting with MDNR. Because if MDNR does determine that, yes, this would need to fall under a construction permit category, you're looking at up to 60 days in delays between when they can start the review and when you can break ground on the work. So that would be a critical first step, is getting that meeting scheduled.
Okay.
And that kind of concludes it. I got the schedule left up here, but I'm happy to toggle through any other slides if you have questions, or Danielle, if you want to comment on anything.
Yeah, so one of the things that I just wanted to share with the governing body that Maddie recommended actually is that Burns and McDonald has engineering offices in India.
Yeah.
And so you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah, so I recommended expediting this design to 100%. But even going to 100% design and trying to have that turned around in 30 days, it's really quick. That's really quick for an engineering project. We've got a bunch of data to sort through. I know we've gone through a lot of the data right now, but it takes time to sort through that information, provide the engineering recommendations, and to make sure we have the quality controls in place to give the city the best product possible. And so with some of our offices in Mumbai, we're able to work around the clock by the time change essentially. And so our teammates in Mumbai, we've got a team of 6 that do water, wastewater, and stormwater collection systems. They would essentially pick up where we leave off the night before, and we'd come in the next morning and check the work, provide review comments, and basically allows us to expedite our schedule and to shrink it by almost half. So we're trying to get creative to get this completed in time, and hoping that MDNR determines that this case doesn't qualify for a construction permit.
Do you need anybody to go over there and see how things are?
Check on their work over there.
We have sent some folks over there. I personally haven't gone yet myself. I hear it's a really, really neat experience. I would say once in a lifetime, but a couple of my coworkers have been twice, so I can't say once in a lifetime. But yeah, culturally, it's fantastic. Such smart people. I personally do not speak any other languages. And these working professionals are able to hold meetings in English when it's not even their second or sometimes third language that they know. It's pretty incredible. And they're a great asset to our team, especially for cases like this where we really need to turn something around quickly.
That's great.
Yeah, that is great.
Are some of the green sections going to be candidates for lining? Probably.
So some of the green sections highlighted
Yeah.
here. So this one I cannot explicitly speak to right now if you wanted to line that for future projects, but as far as some of the other locations, most of these were already 6-inch pipe, which we wouldn't recommend lining at this point. We also aren't able to line any of the green areas in North Big Street or the Ferguson.
That intersection's a mess anyway.
I'm sorry, what?
That intersection's a mess anyway.
Yeah, because we have to lower the line, so that would be such a drop. MDNR also requires less than a 24-inch drop unless you want an internal drop structure, which is, we try to avoid that. It's a maintenance headache for your city crews. So at this point, we feel like it's the best case to go ahead and just replace the whole system that tees into it. The one caveat to that might be at the east side of North Street. There are 2 4-inch diameter lines that were in okay condition. They are engineered bends,
And we still need to determine, one, if these lines are active, because no active sewer flow was observed during condition assessment. And two, to clarify that they are city-owned. We don't want to propose doing work on non-city owned assets here. So at this time, we're only proposing replacing the structure there because they appear to be common laterals as opposed to mains.
And when we run into collapsed laterals or damaged laterals, what do we do?
We
How
are-
do we do it?
We are still.
I know what we
approaching-
need to do.
We are still discussing how we're going to approach that.
Okay.
So particularly, with, some of those lines that we have to drop, their service lines might be in okay condition, but because we're gonna drop the main, we're gonna have to have a conversation about how we connect their service line.
Yeah,
to
cause
a main that's
if they're connected to 3 feet and we got dropped to 8 feet, yeah, that's not a fun drop either.
Yeah.
We have thought of that, and we're having that conversation, so.
Oh, man. From the photos, I'm surprised that the sewers are even working.
I'm sorry, what?
From the photographs, I'm surprised that the sewers are even working.
Honestly, we were surprised too that you weren't getting more complaints on some of the laterals.
And from the dirt in there, who knows how big those caverns actually are?
Sorry, I was trying to-
They could be rather huge. Like that one could be.
Yeah, I don't even think I included the photo from the Wendy's pipe collapse. There was a pretty big cavity adjacent to the pipe there that was no surprise that there were sinkholes or patches forming at the roadway surface there. So I mean, like I said, we obviously don't want you all to have to patch a brand new road next year. I don't think you guys want that.
And we don't want to.
No, we definitely don't. And so that proposed meeting with MDNR is, so yet to be proposed, yet to be scheduled.
Yes, yeah, it's yet to be scheduled, and that would be something that the city would be involved with too. That would be held in a vacuum.
Yeah, great.
Maybe they'll just say, Lord, this is a mess. Go ahead and fix it.
And here's $1 million.
Right.
That'd be all right too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Chairman Pro Tem, we still do need action on the site.
Yes,
I know we've had quite a discussion, but we do need action.
yes.
Move to approve said ordinance to second reading by title.
Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute an amendment to the contract with Burns and McDonnell Co. Inc. for the McGuire Street corridor upgrade project. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7.2, an ordinance approving the minor plat of Barnwood Heroes Edition. Presented by, or that is an ordinance approving and accepting a minor plat. Barnwood Heroes Edition, a subdivision in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, located at 717 and 719 East Colton, presented by Barbara Carroll.
Council, this is an ordinance approving a minor plat of Barnwood Heroes Edition. This is a parcel of land that is on the east side of Mitchell Street at 717 and 719 East Colton Street. It's always had two properties on it, two houses on it, and two addresses, but it's been one parcel of land. And so Ethan Farrell through Barnwood Heroes, Barnwood Properties LLC has purchased the property. He has demolished both structures and wishes to split that parcel into two separate lots legally so that he can go back with two houses. A duplex on lot one, and I believe a duplex on lot two. And so this is a lot split of existing parcel into two new lots. They have made all the corrections that staff had asked for. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered it at their meeting last week and recommended approval as submitted. I'd be happy to answer any questions, would recommend approval of the ordinance.
Any questions? Okay. Need a
Motion to
motion.
move to second reading by title.
Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
An ordinance approving and accepting the minor plat of Barnwood Heroes Edition, a subdivision in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, located at 717 and 719 East Colton Street. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 7.3, an ordinance vacating a portion of an alley running east and west between the east half of lot 78 and the east half of lot 79 in the original plat of Warrensburg. And presented by Jason McCarthy.
Good evening, Chairman Pro Tem and Council. I will keep my thing short. We've been here for a little bit. Again, this is another Barnwood Heroes development. He's built several structures over there on Main Street and Colton. This would allow him to continue on lot 79, the east half, which is the south one. That lot is currently too narrow. By vacating this alley, it would afford him to build another residence unit there in that vacant lot. Any questions?
Is there any utilities or anything in the alley?
No, ma'am. They verified that through Missouri One Call doing a design locate. All utilities are non-existent in that alley.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Need a motion?
Motion to approve. Let's see, wait a minute. Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
An ordinance vacating a portion of an alley running east and west between the east half of lot 78 and the east half of lot 79 in the original plat of Warrensburg. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8.1. Reappoint Kathy Strickland as a member of the Energy and Sustainability Task Force for a 2-year term through July 2026.
Motion to approve the appointment.
Kushner,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, appearances to the council not listed on the agenda. We have none. So next up would be the city staff updates.
Number 10,
Number 10, I beg your pardon.
sorry.
Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. I'm a rookie at this.
Doing great.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
you're doing
much.
fine.
Sure.
The only thing I've got is, Public Works on Cheatham. Have been doing a killer job out there of what that used to be a horrible road, so
Oh,
that's doing really well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional?
Did you ever find Cedar Court?
I still couldn't find it, but I didn't want to backtrack to try that hard and I didn't put it into my GPS and just take me there. But went on Cheatham when they first started and it really was a mess. So I need to go back over there and do it now.
It's a lot better.
Coming along. And find,
Cedar.
yeah.
Okay, now we'll do item 11.1, city staff updates with the fire department.
Good evening, council. Just a review of June, is in your packet. Highlights 167 calls in the month of June. Still trending much higher than last year. We're at 20% over what our call volume was this time last year. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
One,
Yes.
you got the engine rebuild set yet?
It is a FY25 project.
That's right. That's right. I forgot.
You have a couple new vehicles?
all the pickups.
Yes, but they don't have so when is the lettering and pretty stuff gonna be on them?
8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
8 a.m. tomorrow morning. All right.
Yeah, those will be done in Gator Graphics and they're rather busy, so we've been on their schedule for a few weeks, but they go in tomorrow morning, so if all goes well, by tomorrow evening, they'll be
Perfect.
all marked up.
They're nice looking.
Yeah, still have one more to come.
Okay. Are they all the same color?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
They'll be that great, but they're built in Kansas City, then shipped to Columbia, and then brought to Warrensburg. The third one got stuck on a lot during a hailstorm.
Oh.
So there's quite an inventory of F-150s that are going through inspection to see if there was any. So we hope to see it soon.
So it could have hail damage.
It could, I'm going to be extremely optimistic and say that it didn't.
Well, it can go, stick it on a really hot sun, they'll pop up.
Yeah, they're taking a look at it all, so hopefully we'll see it soon.
Okay, good. Good.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay. Item 11.2, city staff update, sidewalk improvement program update by Phil Aldridge.
Evening, Chairman Pro Tem, City Council members. So in your packet, we had the sidewalk program in 2022, 2023. We were able to complete 3,483.5 linear feet at the price of $182,000. In there, I had some pictures of completed sidewalk along Gay Street, Main Street, North Street, and then just different other spots around Warrensburg that we were able to do. The proposed zone map is also in your packet. You'll see Jan or Councilmember Jones asked me to see if we can get that online so people can look at it. We are working on getting that out there, so hopefully within.
If it's
the next
just
few
a
days.
link, it'd be perfect.
I didn't know if we had that PowerPoint, so. It's not in there, I don't think. Sorry. Okay.
It was.
Last year, we did work in zone 2 and zone 3. And this year, we are going to be working mainly in zone 2, trying to get all those sidewalks completed. We have $160,000 this year to do this work. In your packets, the pictures are showing the sidewalks that are missing. There's quite a few sidewalks missing. There's spots that are broken, upheaval, misaligned. The pictures show, like I said, lots of sidewalk missing, and the map shows where we will be doing most of the work in zone 2.
I love this sidewalk program.
Yeah.
I think it's great, and I like that we're working in the older part of
Yeah.
town. And then once we get this done, then we kind of move, to not as old. But eventually, everything needs to be connected, the schools, everybody needs to be connected.
There are over 140 locations that has been pinpointed for spots. We actually have started the program this year. Contractors out there working on it as not right now, it's dark, but during the day. And we will try and get as much done with the $160,000. And then in the future, we're hoping to increase the sidewalk program budget and get more done.
Got a lot done last year. It looked great. Great.
It's an example of every council and every set of staff inherit some deferred maintenance from years past and years past and years past and years past. So it's great. It can seem a little overwhelming, the amount that needs to be done, but we have to start somewhere. So I would just reiterate what you said about it. Really glad to see that we're working in zone 2 and trying to catch up some folks who haven't had any sidewalks in so long.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, item 11.3, city staff updates, departmental budget review presentations.
This one I do have.
Oh, the water part, water pollution, I beg your pardon.
All right, so I was gonna talk about the Public Works Water Pollution Control Department budget for 2025. There are approximately 118 miles of sewer main that the collection crew maintains. We also, the collection crew also does the right-of-way management where we mark and locate the sewer mains so that if any contractors need to dig or know where the mains are so they don't hit them, they take care of that. We have 2 treatment facility plants. One is the east plant and west plant, which hopefully everybody's visited. If not, let me know. We'll get you out there. Each plant has a national pollutant discharge elimination system permit that is permitted to us by the state. We discharge over 1 million gallons of effluent water to streams every day. It's closer to 2 billion, but some days it's not, and some days it's over. The permit limits, we do meet through sampling. We sample daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, annually. Have all sorts of things that we are supposed to meet to make sure that the water is safe and swimmable, fishable on certain occasions or times of year. We have 9 full-time employees. We have 3 at the collection system, and we have 6 out at the plants at this time. There are 2 open positions that hopefully we will be able to fill later on. Some of the accomplishments for the 2024 year. The collection crew did get a utility truck to replace an aging piece of equipment. This one's more suitable for them. The wastewater treatment plant upgrade has been started. We do have engineers on board. We're working on getting our CMAR, our construction manager at risk personnel, decided and hired. The East plant was able to get a skid steer, which helps with a lot of the work out at the plants. Makes it a lot easier to move heavier biosolids, clean up stuff. Utility vehicle was purchased for the plants to replace an old utility vehicle. The grit washers at each plant was purchased. We're working on getting them put in, but we had to work around some electrical issues that we ran into. We did replace the non-potable pump that delivers non-potable water at the plants, yard hydrants, helps keep the place clean. The UV bulbs, every year, one plant gets a set of random bulbs due to the time that the bulbs run. They're like light bulbs, they will go out, which will carry our disinfection. So we need to keep those up so that the system meets its requirements. And then we did get microscopes at the lab so that we can help make sure that we have the right microorganisms doing the job that we need them to do out there. Some of the goals for the 2025 year, the SBR4 project is not scheduled, or engineers show that it'll be done in the first part of 2026. So I'm hoping that it's over halfway done by this time next year, and we're well into getting it complete.
Will they be working on both at the same time?
Yes, okay, we'll be doing both. It's gonna be cheaper that way, or less expensive that way. So they will be having a crew doing stuff here and crew over there. So non-potable pumps, we do have one more to replace. Then of course the UV bulbs at the opposite. We did west plant this year, we'll do east plant next year. And then we're getting beginning the collection crew a new jet truck to replace their failing jet truck right now. It's sometimes limps back to the building.
Okay.
So for the morale and retention, I'm hoping to get the positions filled so that everybody at the plants or the collections has to be on call. So if we have all positions filled, it helps with the morale because not everybody's on call every other week or more often. Training, we do need to get them trained. New hires, we have to get trained for the certificate of competency through Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Because they're required to have a Class D certificate to work there. Plus, we also have to get some CDLs because the jet truck requires CDL. Equipment, we need to maintain the pumps, the blowers, and other vital equipment. This is all projected in the budget for 2025. Some of the categories that I was going to go through: maintenance and repair supplies. At the plants, this year, we were at $16,500. At the collections, we were $150. For next year, the proposed budget does go down for the plants. We took out something that I had it on the note. I don't know what it is. Basically, we took out $5,000. We fixed something this year. I can't remember what it was.
Huh?
I can't remember either. I had my notebook with me.
It's in the notes for the presentation, but, and then it's just basically equipment repair and buildings, repairs and supplies. Tools and small equipment stays fairly close. The west plant does need a new power washer. The power washer we have there is over 20 years old and it's failing. So we got that and some accessories for that. And then hand tools, the collection crew needs some hand tools to do some internal maintenance that we're looking at getting them so that they can do it in-house. Not supplies non-categorized. This one here, the collection crews staying the same. It's a lot of their marking paint, the right of way. They always need lots of paint for that. They go through lots. The plants, we do go up. We have some lab equipment that needs some filters and for the water, the UV lights, and those things aren't lasting as long as I thought they would when we bought the equipment. So we had to increase that to cover that price, and they're not cheap. Professional development, again, we have to send our guys to training so that they can get CDLs, which is a lot of the collection crew increase. Or really their schools and seminars went down by a little bit, but their travel and room went up a little bit so that we can. We're having a hard time finding classes around our area. So we're going to have to send them to state nights so that they can get trained for certificates. The plants, theirs went down because most everybody has their certificates. We just have a couple new people. Equipment maintenance and repair. This one does go up for the plants. Things are just getting a little more expensive. We have more. That's what it says. Let's see. Sorry. It's supposed to be non-potable pump is in there. The pump maintenance, the aerator maintenance. Then the collections, we've got jet hose that has to be replaced. A nozzle that we would like to get to help clean out the sewer lines. And then here, where Danielle talked earlier, enterprise lift station, this would be included in this category. We will have to do some maintenance on Enterprise to keep it up and going. We're really working hard on looking at putting a basket in the manhole in front of it to sort of help catch some of the rags. That's gonna be a small amount, hopefully. We're getting that price, and then the impellers. So, because it's a pump station in Fort Maine, and in that area, we believe, we're not 100% sure that, it's got the VA hospital, and sometimes those people flush rags more than other people. So, we're trying to catch a lot of that our guys go out and clean that pump station every Thursday, and they find a lot of rags, a lot of t-shirts, a lot of. So we're looking at putting a basket in front of the discharge pipe, so we can catch some of those and clean them out of the manhole.
Before it comes down.
Before it gets in the pump and clogs that up, it gives us a problem,
Okay.
so. Capital projects for next year. Again, SBR4 or Warrensburg West and East wastewater treatment improvements. Not only is it SBR4, it is the reed beds, it is UV light upgrades. Sewer line and replacement will go mainly to McGuire Street. And we'll help out with that, and it is still part of getting the sewer line in a better condition. And then, of course, the purpose of the jet truck. Already started, hopefully we'll be able to go through. Any questions?
Are we still doing the I?
So that is going to be transferred next year to the McGuire corridor. That I portion, it will be used, right? It will be used for the rebuild of the.
Truly seeing the condition of the system on McGuire Street, we're gonna see a significant drop in our inflow and infiltration, or not inflow, but our infiltration.
Yeah.
On McGuire, and so that all goes to the west plant.
It does.
Yeah, so, I'm actually really interested in seeing our
flow
And
before
after.
and after in numbers, at the west wastewater treatment plant after we do these repairs on the fire.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bill.
And then personnel, presented by Courtney Christensen and Daniel Doom.
Good evening. Want to give you an update on our personnel budget. We are still very much crunching numbers, trying to make work. Personnel budget is about 70% of the general fund. It's a little bit less than other funds, but particularly the general fund, does account for about 70% of our general fund expenses. So while department directors have worked diligently to put together operational budgets, one of the things that they know and that they keep in mind is that we always balance our operational budget with our personnel budget, which is what Courtney and I really work on as far as talking through market adjustments, merit raises. And as one of the, you all know, in 2020 and 2021, we did freeze some positions and we eliminated some positions. And so we are working with that balancing act of balancing the operational needs to provide employees with the equipment that they need to perform the services that they perform, do the programs that they do, and making sure that they have all the necessary equipment, technology, et cetera. But also understanding that if we don't have people to do that work, if we don't have anyone to run that equipment, if we don't have anyone to run that software, that it does no good for the city of Warrensburg and the community and our residents here. So one of the things that we are working towards, and Courtney is going to present the numbers to you all. As you will recall, we did a salary study last year, really trying to take a look at who we were competing with. So those communities who were recruiting our firefighters away from us, who were recruiting our police officers away from us, as well as other agencies, for example, the Missouri Department of Transportation, who were recruiting away our CDL drivers, or looking at other, folks who were getting employment out on the base, really trying to take a look at who our competitors were and who we're competing against. We did a first round of market adjustments last year, where we really focused on bringing those individuals who were not getting paid the minimum of what a competitive salary would be. We really focused on getting them to that entry level range. Knowing that we still had a lot of work to do on folks who have been with us for 5 to 7 years. So understanding that they were brought in probably a little bit lower than competitive, and then as we were not able to do raises, or as we were not able to do those market adjustments, they fell behind. So the second phase of our salary study is that second phase of implementation is what we are working on and trying to incorporate in this year's budget. And so that really focuses on folks who have been with us 5 to 7 years and getting them to a midpoint of that competitive range. One of the other things that we are trying to work on is understanding that just getting you to a competitive range does not account for inflation, and understanding that things keep getting more and more expensive, and wanting to make sure that our employees, when we do a market adjustment, that they don't just fall behind as inflation goes up annually. So wanting to make sure that we're taking care of them in that aspect, but also when we have employees who perform really well, and we have a lot of really dedicated employees who do spend a lot of time with the city of Warrensburg and with their coworkers. So we want to reward them through a merit raise as well. One of the other items that we are taking a look at is working to provide some relief in some of those positions that we know are working a lot of overtime, who are not able to use their paid time off, which is the benefit that we provide because we are so short-staffed, because we do not have a very deep bench. You all remember the conversation that Chief Jennings presented to you all when we looked at comparing actually what our overtime expenses are versus what it would cost us to actually bring on additional FTEs. And so that was a very eye-opening conversation and analysis that we put forward and have been looking at and continue to take a look at. So one of the things that we are also trying to balance with market adjustments, with merit raises, is also looking at if we can add some additional FTEs to bring down that overtime expense, to be able to bring down that PTO buyback program that we have, and bringing down the expense with that, because we know how important it is for our employees to be able to take time off, to recharge, to really work on their well-being, particularly in some of those professions like police and fire. So we are looking at trying to unfreeze a position in the street maintenance. We currently have 2 positions frozen in street maintenance, so we are looking at trying to unfreeze that street maintenance position. We are looking at trying to unfreeze the police officer position that we currently have frozen. And we are also looking at adding 2 additional firefighters. I am going to pause at that point and let Courtney kind of talk through the numbers. Just wanted to let you know where our priorities are and the things that we are working on, and get any feedback from you all as Courtney presents it.
Yeah, promise not to go totally into the weeds. I'm kind of a math nerd though, so I'll try to avoid that. But so the wages and benefits that I'm looking at this point in time, with the addition of 1 street maintenance worker, a new police corporal, and 2 new firefighters. Now the police corporal was frozen, those kinds of things, but those, each one of those, when we add those together, we are looking at actually add these together, but it is about $246,000 for those 4 positions to be added in. That would be their which and all of their benefits. And Rachel Denfield, who I think a lot of you know, who has come back to work with me while I'm here as the interim,
she has this massive spreadsheet that Katie from Human Resources started with, and then she did, I always rename it, so I don't want to mess up her work, but she actually has gone through and even figured, you know, what that does to overtime, like for fire or police, and then all of those numbers are in this number. So when I say this number, it's like, this is the number, it's everything, loggers, overtime, everything. When we were looking at bottom line today, if we do all of the market adjustments, which is moving the people who have not had a promotion, okay, so I did the market study in 2022. But if you were at that 5 to 7 year range or higher, it was to move you to the middle of the range. But if you then got a promotion and you're in a new range, it doesn't count anymore. So that has affected those, but and then the other thing that we have done is because we did the market study and found where people needed to be based on our comparable cities and who was stealing from us, we had to change the pay grades. And when I changed all the pay grades to make them work, then some people now weren't making at the bottom of their new range if it goes into effect October 1. So that is also included in what we now call market adjustments, but it's because we made the pay ranges at a market level. So it has affected that. So right now, if we just talk about the general fund, if we include all of those things, the 4 new workers, because those are all in the general fund, and those market adjustments and getting people to the bottom of their new pay grades, then we will be at $8,816,000 for all wages and benefits, overtime, everything, in the general fund. A 1% increase would cost us $54,719. And don't ask me how Rachel gets these numbers, but that is the number she gave me. She gave me 52,000 until we added the new people, and then it went up. So, so if we look at possibly, we're looking at, we've now taken some of that money, but we are looking at an ability maybe to do a 3%, but that would be the max that we could manage. If we did a 3% in the general fund, that would increase us by $164,157. So that's not just a 1% wage. They're not gonna see all of that in their paycheck, but that's all of their benefits too. Because only health insurance and dental is about the only things that aren't affected by this. Because your short-term disability, your long-term disability, your life, you know, your loggers, everything is based on, and your overtime is based on what your rate of pay is. So it affects everything. So when you ripple it through, it comes up with this number. For parks, it has a lot of seasonal and part-time employees. So the numbers look kind of funny, but their overall wages and benefits will be at, without the 3%, just the wages and benefits, at $1,779,000. And basically 500. Their 1% increase because they have, the majority of their people are part-time or seasonal, not full-time. So their 1%, which would be added to their full-time people because their seasonal all got the raises with the new minimum wage. Yeah, I knew there was a word that I could know. Thank you. So it's $5,021 for parks per 1%. So for 3%, that would be a $15,063. And I know I spoke with Chris because he was basically at 0 when we did it, that he would probably back off on one of his requests for his capital projects to be able to give whatever is given to the people in the general fund. So am I saying that as we had agreed? Yes. And then WPC has a lot of, not a lot of employees, but very important employees. Their total wages and benefits currently with the market and the bottom of the range is $952,573. And their 1% will be $5,745. So a 3% would be $17,235. So for all funds, and this is where she was talking about what it costs to run a city. And this is not unusual for 70%. I just want you to know,
Oh, yeah.
after 33 years of doing this, this is not unusual that your investment, your resources for a city are your human resources. And it is for every city. So your total for all funds will be 11,548,045 without any salary, without any merit increases. If we do the merit increases for everybody, it will cost $196,500 to do a 3% for every.
So the 3% is not a cost of living, the 3% is a merit?
Yes.
Is cost of living and merit the same thing? Are you saying, it's not the same thing?
It's not.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, and it is not the same thing, and how we operate it, or how, since I've been here, since I've been in this position, the current, previously the policy was a little different. So how we've been operating it since I've been in this position is that any employee who is meeting or exceeding expectations gets the merit raise. I think it's really challenging for us to try to articulate who our really outstanding and stellar employees are versus because they're all great and they're all dedicated and they're all incredibly hardworking. And so the system that we had prior to that, we were starting to see some inequities. And so wanting to, we knew that we were underpaying all of our employees. They were not being paid at that market level. And so wanting to make sure that when we did raises that we were distributing those equities. So it is not a cost of living, but it is your merit raise. And that is to help kind of counteract that inflation that we're seeing.
And to keep them or get them to that median,
And I would say your market adjustment
the market.
is probably more closely related to a cost of living raise that you would get each year. But and we're taking a look at that, but really that merit raise is going to employees who are meeting or exceeding expectations.
Okay.
So if you're on a performance plan, you do not get that raise. So
I believe last year when phase 1 was put in, managers did not, directors,
department directors.
thank you,
Yes,
did not.
department directors did forego.
So are they included in these numbers?
They are.
Okay.
If they are not already at the minimum, or they have been in their position for a long time, they are included. They are included.
You're the little one, Barb.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Our,
good. Thank
our
you.
institutional knowledge. Barb
Yeah.
celebrating, I'm gonna say it now. Barb Carol and Doug are both celebrating their 25-year anniversary from the city.
Congratulations, or we're very sorry,
Yeah.
whichever. one.
We're very happy about
Congratulations.
that.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you for this work to get people equitably paid, because I mean, the same can be said at the university, that the cost is the people. If you don't have the people to do the programs, then you don't have the programs. And so it doesn't work to have a lot of unfunded mandates. I know personally that doesn't work very well. So investing in people is absolutely crucial. So thank you for the work on this.
And I know I won't be here next year, but just remember, you're gonna need to redo your market study at least every 5 years minimum. And because while you're doing what you're doing, everybody else is doing their own
Right,
thing.
sure.
And the market gets kind of out of balance, and you just need to just recheck it. Hopefully it won't be as expensive to catch up, but the best way to avoid that is to always give a merit increase to your employees that is in alignment with the people you're competing with. And if you can do that, then we can keep them at that median. And just so you know, everybody's pay grade is at least at the median for all of the comparable cities that had that kind of position when it goes into effect October 1, just so you know. So, and I would just like to add, even though you didn't add, but when we did the, last time I was here and involved with the merit increases, we only had 2 employees who did not get that merit increase. So when she says you have really good employees, you really do.
And I will say those 2 employees, were put on a performance plan and they did improve.
They got it in the
And they
spring.
got it in the spring.
Yeah, great.
Yes. Again, just to kind of conclude, we are still working to present a balanced budget for you this year. The last couple years, we have balanced our budget by planning to spend reserves. This year, we are planning to bring forward a balanced budget without spending any of those cash reserves. We have worked very hard. I want to make sure that that opportunity is that we are sitting in a very comfortable place with our fund balance. And so I would like council to have that opportunity to have a very considerate conversation if you all are ever wanting to spend down that fund balance. And I do think that we will have some opportunities to make some important decisions about how we want to use those funds moving forward, but those are one-time dollars. And so it's always really important to make sure that we're not using those for operating expenses.
Great.
Appreciate the opportunity to work towards that
Yeah.
the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We're
Thanks
there.
for your work on that. Thanks for having the brain for numbers.
Yes.
And with that, Chairman Pro Tem, it is 9 PM and no good decisions are made after.
Let's take a hike, y'all.